Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our regular Board of Selectmen meeting, 6 p.m. on February 23rd, 2015. I'm going to announce that the meeting is being recorded and transmitted via cable television for everyone's viewing enjoyment. And if you would please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. It's good to see everybody in the room tonight, rather. First thing on the agenda is Carrie Honey. She's been on the Library Board of Trustees, and she wanted to come in and say a few words. So, Carrie, welcome. And thank you.
Good evening. I'll go alphabetically. Mr. Boudreau, Mr. Curtin, and the Selectmen, Mr. Crawford, Mr. Nelson, and Mr. Terranova. Good evening to all of you, and to all the residents of Lynnfield. I'm so happy to welcome everyone to the Academy. See, I just wanted to check and see if anyone was listening. I do want to thank all the residents of Lynnfield for the past 21 years. It seems like a long time, and it is in a way. My youngest child was 8 years old when I was working full-time, married, and you know, with 3 children. But once I got involved in the library, I just couldn't let it go. And we met wonderful people. We moved here 35 years ago, and this is where we chose to live, and we think it's a great community. We've had marvelous experiences. We've lived in South Lynnfield on Longbow Circle, and then for the last 14 years, we've lived on Daventry Court. And the neighbors and the people and the giving is just extraordinary. They're all involved in something. And to the residents, I think this is a tremendous place to live. Nothing in life is perfect, but I think we're pretty close to it in Lynnfield. And I appreciate everything that you people have done, and I appreciate the wonderful friendships that my husband and I and the children have made, and we're very happy. But in keeping with the Academy, you all have to hear the latest news, right? So I have a wonderful husband and a wonderful son, but there's another man in my life. So, you know, in keeping with the Academy. And I brought a picture of the other man, okay?
Okay.
In addition to my husband and son.
Oh.
Our first grandchild.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
It's Henry Dear Bryan, and they live in New York, and I hope to get to more time to travel and to see him and for the both of us to travel and get around places. It is really a wonderful experience, I think, to live in Lynnfield. The neighbors, the present neighbors are Mr. Lawford. Crawford knows some of them, you know, how they are. Even the dogs are friendly. There's Sonny, what's his name? Sanford, Guinness Griffin, Riley Ritchie. You know, I mean, it really is nice. The people are very caring. They help each other, and yet they're not in their houses all the time or that kind of thing. And the children have very, in my opinion, they all have very good goals in life, and it's been a wonderful experience. And I'm proud to say I spent these years here. I'm not moving. That was one of the newspaper people asked me right away, "You moving?" I said, "No, we're not. Not at this time. I have no intention of moving at this time." I also don't plan to have any office, so there's no ulterior motive here. I intend to still stay involved with the Friends of the Library, with other organizations that I'm in, but not in an administrative role. And I just want to thank you all immensely for this wonderful experience. And I hope everybody can be as fortunate as us. We really do have a wonderful 35 years.
Well, Carrie, you're very welcome. And 21 years is quite a while to be on the Library Board of Trustees. And I know the library has evolved a whole lot in 21 years, and a lot of that evolvement is part of what you had to put into the library. So
Well, all the people, yes.
all the
yeah.
people, but you had an active part in that too. And I'm not taking away from the rest of the library board of trustees, but to me it's sort of about Carrie Hawley tonight and the 21 years that you've put in, and you can really be commended for that, and I thank you for that. I
Thank
think
you very much.
you're a great lady, and I think you've been a good friend, and really appreciate the service that you've put in.
Thank you
so
for
thank
giving me the opportunity to just thank you all. This has been, what, third time around or whatever. But you're all very much worth it. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Carrie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's okay that I have this other man in my life? too?
Yes,
Yes, it is.
very handsome
your
man
grandson.
too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And thank you, Joe.
Well, 21 years, came to Lynnfield.
Okay, Mr. Jason Kimball, War Memorial Guidelines.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Jason Kimball, your Lynnfield Veteran Service Agent. Hope everybody's well tonight. I have copies of the January 22nd letter to provide the board if you need it. You folks might already have it, I believe. Okay. A couple things. We haven't upgraded our war memorial in many, many years, and we have global war and terrorism guys. We have guys from the Vietnam era, Gulf War era as well who are not on the list. So what I wanted to do was create an official criteria as to how a veteran would actually get on the war memorial, because at some point we would obviously like to upgrade some of those and add the many names that are unfortunately not on it right now. And I know this is a good year for capital improvements, but we're kind of starting at the ground zero right now with this. So I didn't want to put anything for a capital improvement for the war memorial until we had this taken care of first. So I'll be very brief. I recommend it's a 4-part test. Veteran wishing for his or her name to be added to the Lynnfield War Memorial needs to submit their name in writing to the Lynnfield Veteran Service Officer. The veteran needs to provide a copy of their discharge papers. The veteran needs to be honorably discharged from any branch of the U.S. Armed Forces, which also includes the Coast Guard, Army National Guard, and Air National Guard. And the veteran needs to have been a Lynnfield resident at the date he joined the U.S. Armed Services. I spoke to the Division of Veteran Services in Massachusetts, at the State House, and they have no guidance at all. They said, you guys figure out what you want to do. So I've spoken to a number of other local area veteran officers, and this criteria basically seems to be the norm in a variety of communities. So the reason why I bring it before the Board of Selectmen is because when I deny someone access to the War Memorial because their name is in Medford, they're going to call you guys. So I want to make sure you guys are in the loop and approve this criteria, because I think it's going to be very important that everyone is on the same page here. So welcome any questions, feedback, comments.
I think this is good, the 4 points that you have down. I do agree with you that the veterans need to have been or lived in Lynnfield at the time that they joined the service. Mm-hmm. Now, is the memorial taken up? I mean, is there room for?
Well, it's a very interesting question. Unfortunately, over the years, what you have over here is you have different stones, and you have World War II on one stone, then World War II on another stone, and then you have additions for folks that weren't on it. Basically, I envision something similar to this, because you're always going to have your onesies and twosies. My grandfather was on the list, but he was in World War II or something like that. So how do we deal with that? If you begin career right after World War II, well, how are you going to be able to supplement the World War II list? The answer is you really can't. So some type of vision of almost, I guess, for lack of a better word, what would look like a tombstone or a memorial stone, and you have them separated with a row behind it. So you have World War I, and then behind World War I, you can add additional names to the World War I list if you need that, maybe with a Walk of Fame or something like that you see over in Wakefield. They raised $250,000 in Wakefield by selling those little bricks. Tom Terranova, my grandfather, was a World War II Marine or something like that. And you can buy those bricks, and that's a good way to do private funding for any type of improvements and everything like that. And the other idea too is to keep this small. We have a very small common, obviously. So, but to have 15 different plaques with different wars and everything else, it doesn't look the part, because you have one war memorial at the very tip of the common right over here that has some names, and that's different than what we have over by my Main Street by my father's house. So to tidy it up and to consolidate it and to make it look like an actual war memorial. I mean, anytime I'm driving around the North Shore, you'll see these communities with tanks, guns, and everything else. Nothing crazy like that, but I think we should have our veterans' names properly displayed in their order too, not a variety of placards. Right.
So other than that, I mean, I think it's a good idea. I think you've done a great job with the.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Yeah.
I think so too, Jason. We discussed this about a year ago.
We did, yeah.
And we said we had some brief discussion then about expanding it or replacing it. And I really like the idea of adding the names to the existing one, or maybe redesigning some part of it where we can add those names. The only one I had an issue with, in contrast to Selectman Nelson, was I would like to have some flexibility in number 4.
Okay.
Because if somebody was here for a year and joined the Army or Navy or whatever for that year and has lived in another town for 20 years, and now they can't get on that war memorial because they happen to join when they're in the other town for a year.
Discretion is always key, and that
We-
should always be retained. And
I would like to have the option to take those kind of circumstances under advisement and seeing if we could make an exception for people like that, because it's going to happen in the reverse.
it will.
Yeah.
I would recommend that I could add a 5 and
Yeah.
say, any denial is appealable to the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah.
I think it's always key to retain discretion,
I
always.
think it would be, because there's going to be people that may have joined when they're in, you said
might have joined when they're
Medford.
18, but they spent
18
50
and
years
now
in
they've been-
Lynnfield,
They've been
you
here
know?
for 20 years.
Right, exactly.
That's right.
I agree
So they might want to
totally.
be on our memorial, not the one there.
I agree.
Yeah, so
I agree.
I'd like to be able to at least have that as an option.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, okay.
Well, Jason, I want to thank you for spending a lot of time putting this together, because I spent about an hour this morning just doing research on this topic on top of yesterday as well. And not a whole lot out there.
There's none, actually.
I did find some guidelines over for Halifax County
Oh,
in
good.
Virginia.
Excellent.
Believe it or not, it's not that far off. Described it a little differently, but
Yep.
not that far off. So I really want to commend you for all the
Thank you, Tom.
hard work you put into this. And I do like the flexibility of if someone was in transition here, that's a good idea to allow them to apply in their home to be on their own war memorial.
Mm-hmm.
And we also chatted about this in the past. We need to embrace our war veterans for putting their life on the line for us.
Mhm.
And if that means we need to reorganize those stones and come up with some better system of stones, that's the least we could do.
I agree.
For including yourself, putting your life on the line
Oh, thank you.
for little old me and everybody else here that didn't go into combat for this great country. So I'd actually like to take it a step further and give you a little more leeway in determining what is it that we really need out in that common. And if it means scratching what we have there to come up with something better, it's something we should definitely embrace.
I agree.
So I do want to thank you for your hard work and embrace this. So
Oh, thank you.
I'd make a motion to approve the January 22nd, 2015 guidelines for the Lynnfield War Memorial with item 5 amendment. Any denial may be appealed to the Board of Selectmen.
I'd second that.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you very much,
Good job,
everybody.
Jason. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Jane. Scenic Road Bylaw. How are you?
Pretty good. Jane Bandini.
Hi, Jane.
Good evening.
This is an update. I think you have the latest copy there.
Yes, I
And,
believe.
I just wanted to go over some of the things that we've done since the last time I was here. We did have a public forum on the bylaw, and we announced that forum and also just an overall announcement to everyone as to what we were doing through the town email. So if you were able to get that, you did that. And we placed the bylaw on the town website so anyone has access to it and can see what it is that we're doing. A lot of both the local newspapers have written a number of stories about it and covered it. It was in yesterday's Globe, actually, about the bylaw. So we've had a lot of trying to get out as much information as we can about it, let everyone know what it is that we're doing, and and what the bylaw involves. The changes that you see from the last time to now, the most notable one is that there have been 5 roads that are recommended for designation. And those roads listed on here are Chestnut Street, Essex, Lowell, Maine, and Summer. And those were really chosen by everyone who's discussed it. Those are really the 5 oldest roads in town. And they have stone walls, tree canopies, and they have what is actually important to scenic roads, which is its aesthetic value, which is one of the really main reasons that you would designate a road scenic. And it's felt that altering those 5 roads would have the most impact on changing the character of Lynnfield. So those are what have been placed into the bylaw, that people could see what it is that they would be voting for. So what we'd also like to know is what the Board of Selectmen feels about those particular roads. And
Well, Jane, just a question. There are probably other roads in town that would be deemed scenic. So how would anything be handled on those roads? Would people tend to say they're not on this list? So it's, I mean, because there was a discussion some time ago about not putting any roads, right? Just taking them up as they came.
Well, not really taking them up as they came. It had been discussed to pass the bylaw or have the bylaw come before town meeting,
Right.
without any roads.
Right.
It was felt by a number of people that you would be voting for something and you wouldn't really know what it applied to. So putting the roads in, you can then see just what this involves, what the whole idea is that you're trying to project, and the types of roads. I know there were other roads that the Historical Commission thought would be more, that had more historical value to it, but everyone has their viewpoint on what
Right.
road it should be. And what many towns do is they put in just a starting, and then if everyone sees that this is not threatening in any way, and realize that this is probably a good thing, then maybe you 5 years from now or something, you come back and maybe see if people want to add more roads to it. But these would be the 5 roads that really, if there were dramatic changes to them, that you would really notice them. They're the main roads through town that we drive through, and they're really define what the town looks like by those roads. And it's a good start to go from.
So, and who's proprietor of the bylaw?
Well, the planning board would pass.
Planning board?
Planning board is in charge of everything. It also doesn't prohibit anything, which is
Right.
very important, I think. It just requires a hearing. It doesn't say that people can't do anything.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Jane, you have by the way, thank you for doing this. I know this is not the first version. I know you've gone through 7 iterations of this bylaw, and it's actually down to 2 pages, which is nice.
We
It was
killed a
several
couple of
pages.
trees on this
Thank
one.
you. You have a procedure for actions on a scenic road. And you have a defined procedure within the bylaw on how to review a road to be considered a scenic road.
Mm-hmm.
If you're gonna add roads into the bylaw, then you're circumventing your own bylaw. So I think it would be proper to not have any roads named in the bylaw.
Mm-hmm.
And then those roads would have to be considered under your procedure that's within the bylaw.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then you would go through these procedures you've laid out to start looking at each road individually.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of naming 5 roads in here, because it's not complying with your own bylaw. So I think the bylaw is a good idea without naming roads to begin with. So then you can vet those roads individually, have your meetings, have the engineers look at them, get the boundaries that you discuss within your procedures. All right, and then it can come to town meeting and be voted on. All right, to name the roads up front is backwards. So I would think that would be one thing you would do. As far as some of the wording in here, there's a few sentences here I think are awkward. It says only private ways and no privately owned properties shall be subject to the bylaw. I don't know why we don't just say publicly owned property. It's just kind of backwards.
This was, as you say, there were many generations of this, and because the planning board are the people who regulate this.
Yeah.
That is the language that they wanted.
Okay.
This is like going back to when we started a year ago almost about no names of roads.
There are certainly different ways of going about it. When we researched this, as far as I could tell, I couldn't find anything that they didn't put roads in right from the beginning, even if it was only 3 of them. And there are other towns like Weston, they put in, 20 roads right from the beginning. And then there was one town that put in every road right from the beginning.
So the procedure for actions on a scenic
there isn't any
road,
set way to do this.
these procedures that are on the second page, was that criteria used to name these roads?
The criteria is on the first page, the designation, but this,
I think what he means is, did you follow your procedure to select these 5 roads?
yes, because it's the planning board, the Conservation Commission, and the Historical Commission are the ones who can recommend, and these are roads that were recommended by them,
Based on your
based on
procedure for actions?
designation of a scenic road, which is overall scenic beauty or a contribution of stone walls, fences, and the potential lessening of a scenic beauty. Or the, that's your designation of a scenic road.
So what we have is a bylaw, this is a draft, correct? Or is this the final one?
Well, I don't know. That would seem to be the question.
That has 5 roads identified, and then it has procedures on how to move forward if you want to do something else on another road.
The procedures are involve the hearing,
Right.
not
It
the
does
road.
involve
not
a
the road.
public hearing notice.
Not the designation of the road, but the hearing.
Can you explain that? Is there a hearing
Is-
to obtain a
if you look at-
designation?
No.
Tom, if you look at 4 on the front,
Mm-hmm.
that's the procedure for the designation of scenic roads. That requires that a public hearing be conducted prior to town meeting.
Okay.
Okay, on the following page, those are the steps that you take if you are on a scenic road and you wish to do work involving trees or
Work,
stone walls
okay.
within the
Okay.
public layout.
Okay.
That's the difference.
All right. Got it. Well, I want to thank you, Jane. I know that this has been going on for a great amount of time, and you're writing and rewriting. Thank God for computers, right? But I know during one of our meetings back in the summer, we discussed having some forums, etc. Can you give us all a little idea of what the feedback was from the people about this?
Well, we held one forum, and that was as much to discuss what roads would be chosen. We didn't have a lot of people come. We certainly advertised it enough. The Conservation and the Historical Commission both came, and so we discussed roads and what people thought was important in the road, and but they probably wanted more roads.
More?
I think if the bylaw is enacted at a town meeting as just a bylaw by itself without any roads named, then the townspeople will know that these can now be deemed scenic roads by the new bylaw, you'll get a lot more people to show up at your meetings. Where before, you're just still working on the wording of this, and it really hasn't have any teeth yet. So I would think getting this in place first, then working on the roads individually would be a much better way to attack this.
Mm-hmm.
And 'cause I'm assuming you want to put this on the town warrant
Yes,
for April.
yes.
Yes. Yeah, so I would recommend you revise this without the roads in there, and then have that be presented to the town in April, and then you can work on which roads you want to bring to a, whether you do one road or 5 roads to the people in town, then they'll show up. You'll get a bigger turnout, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You also have in here a enforcement fine of $300.
Yeah.
Is that commonplace?
That's the state law.
That's the state law?
Mm-hmm.
So everybody gets charged $300? Okay. How did the planning board view this bylaw? Since they're going to be
Since they've used it
administering
many
it.
times. Well, they certainly took a big part in what this was going to say and what they thought needed to be done. Many of the procedures are actually stated right in the state law. You're just
Right.
saying it again. So this isn't, they wanted it extremely simple, and we agree that it needed to be very simple. It's just a basic law that doesn't restrict people really from doing anything. It's just taking your roads and keeping them the way they are without, it just requires a hearing, that's all. And it's just a series of checks and balances, and it's an easy checks and balances. This is not going to require someone to make a lot of paperwork, which they don't want. Planning board did not want to make this a long procedure. They wanted to be able to just come before them and say, I want to move the stone wall, and they'll say, sure.
Well, I think the concept of the scenic road bylaw is a good concept, but to go to town meeting, I think it should go without names of roads,
Okay.
and then just let it go from there.
I agree. But I think you've got it down to a simplified form that most people will understand. You might want to explain the purpose of it and what it affects. So maybe people listening tonight and the people here in the room will know why you're doing this and what this actually does for the town. You want to just go over that real quick?
Yeah, it's the towns really are the roads are the character of the town, and the state has allowed us to do that, and it's something that has been around about 50 years now, and I think it's something that Lynnfield needs at this point in time. We've had a lot of improvements through town, the mall and new school fields and everything like that, and it's probably about time that we took care of some of the oldest things in town. We've progressed, and now it's time to keep Lynnfield a little more Lynnfield.
What I'm getting at is your goal here is to preserve the tree line, to preserve the stone walls, to preserve the look of the street.
The look of the street,
Right,
yes.
right.
And that's it really is preserving the character of the town. And that's all that really, it's important to do that.
You pretty much summarize it by saying scenic roads. That's what that's what you're here for.
Yeah.
To preserve the scenic road.
Yeah.
But it's the trees and the stone walls
But
that are
it's
on
the
public
actu-
property.
Oh, it's only on public
So
property.
everybody
It's
understands that,
actually-
it's the public property only.
Yes, this
Yeah.
is only the public right-of-way. It's you're taking the chance to, if the road was going to be widened or changed in any way, and that includes by the town, it would put it under this jurisdiction.
Right.
So that you couldn't possibly put in sidewalks where you really didn't want them. And it gives the opportunity for people in the town to express their opinion whether or not they want that road changed.
Right. Okay. I think you've done a nice job putting it together.
Thank you very much.
With a few revisions, I think we could put that on the town warrant.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jane.
Thank you, Jane.
Yes, Jill.
May I?
Can you come up and give your name and where you live?
Hello, everyone. My name is Jill Giuliano. And I just had a question. I don't know enough about the scenic route, which is perfectly fine, but I have a question, whereas you said it's just for public ways, meaning streets and sidewalks. But a question I have is, where is the fine line if you do have a tree that's planted right over the borderline or the property line with the sidewalk and the private way? Now, if it's shading over the sidewalk, would that be a fine at that point? I mean, can you determine or define that? I'm a little confused about that. Sorry, it's my fault. I don't know enough about this, so.
Or those
you can
walls that
answer
might
that.
be right on the line?
Do you know what I mean? I don't
Jane,
know.
do you have
That
any-
becomes a legal question, I guess.
Yes,
Thank you.
The town engineer would.
You go right to that mic right there.
The town engineer determines what the public right-of-way is based on the street maps that he has. And if it was a tree, it's the trunk, whether it goes across that line. It's not the branches or anything like that. That the trunk, the bottom of the trunk has to be on the public right-of-way. And the stone walls would also have to be over that line. And that's determined by the town engineer.
Okay.
That's
Does
fine,
that
Jill?
answer your question, Jill? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Jill. Mr. Alan Dresius. Sign bylaw.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I guess what we're attempting to do here is to set up a system to allow various town boards in town, boards, commissions, et cetera, to put up signs under the bylaw. Our bylaw is such that it's a permissive bylaw. If it doesn't state you can do something, you can't do it. And our bylaw really doesn't state you can do this. So what we're trying to do is give them the capability to put up these signs that everybody feels are necessary or do anyways. So the first part of the sign bylaw, the first 2 pages, is just a repeat of what's in there. And that's typically handled by the Zoning Board of Appeals. There hasn't been any changes. There won't be any changes on the first part of it. We're adding a new section 6.8 called public signs. And we're saying there are 2 types of public signs. One's called a large public sign, which would be limited to 40 square feet if it's a single side, 32 square feet if it's a double-sided sign. And they're allowed 2 of those per each area. So if you were looking at the cemetery down here, they could have 2 large signs in that cemetery, but no more than 2. Then we go into what's called a small sign. Small sign is anything under 4 square feet, and those are unlimited. Sort of our vision on that was probably the bike path. There'd be a lot of little signs from what we've seen on other bike paths. It wouldn't be a large one, there'd just be small ones, and there's no limit to that. There's a procedure set out here, so the only requirement for town boards or commissions would be to vote on the placement of that sign by a majority vote, simple majority. There is a review process in here for the police and fire department to weigh in on it. And then there's always the signs that we call temporary signs, which always seem to jump up. And the temporary signs, we've given the selectmen the authority to review them and permit or not permit those temporary signs. Then we move back into the main part of the bylaw, and what we've done is there's an exemption in there, so if it's any federal or state type signs that are required under any laws or rules, those are exempt to start with. Removing and reconstruction of signs removed, then they have to meet these requirements. Then we run through a large list of prohibited signs, which is still just a checkoff list at this point. Nothing's really cut in stone here. I'd just like to mention that most of the prohibited type signs are the same thing that Market Street. When we went over Market Street development, we decided that those were the types of signs we would prohibit. And there are a few other inputs that the zoning enforcement officer had in his letter. Then we get back into the definitions. We need a better definition of the sign, and we've copied that right out of the state building code. Then was also mentioned a public entity, because I say a public entity would be a board or a commission that has subject to the open meeting law. And those are the people that be putting these signs up. So as long as they're doing it in public, that's fine. There's a couple of catch-alls in there. There's one change on area. Which is acreage. We define what an acre is. It's 40,000 square feet, not 43,260, whatever it is. We use this in our bylaw in our overlay protection zone for the well fields, and we use 40,000 square feet, but we never defined it in that bylaw. So there's been some controversy, and we want to be consistent with what we took it from in the first place. That's about it.
So you added the new section. The other first couple of pages, I noticed there's some strikeout of just some simple stuff, and
We probably won't even do that.
right. Oh, you won't do that?
Probably just to keep it simple.
Okay.
The minute you say, well, there's just this minor change, you raise the issue.
Right.
So probably won't even bother with that.
So you won't void out what's crossed out?
No, it's repeated in the section on, the last section, let's see what we call it here. Prohibited sign types. And as you said, most of that stuff's from Market Street. The ones that are numbered are right out of Market Street, word for word. And the parts that are struck out are the flashing lights, and that's in the prohibited sign types again. It may be just easier not to even take that double verbiage out.
So, for myself, I think this is a good bylaw draft that you've got here. Thank you for the work you put into it.
It's
start.
still open. The planning board will be discussing it tomorrow night. Then we'll
Right.
have a public hearing for inputs. We've talked with the Historic Commission. We talked with Conservation Commission. I'm talking with you tonight. So if you see anything in there that needs to be modified or something that needs to be changed, let us know.
I did have one question, though.
Okay?
Campaign signs. You don't address those in this.
No.
And that's because of freedom of speech.
Correct.
But I do know that municipalities can designate how soon before or how long after an election you can put signs out.
Correct. There's a limitation to what you can do.
Yes.
I've
And even the number of signs that can be placed on someone's property.
number of candidates you're representing, stuff like this. Yep. There's a lot of court cases on that. I've approached the planning board in the past on this, and they really didn't want to get anywhere near it. So if the board would like, or they think there should be something done, just let the board know and we can address it, if the board would like to.
Because there was a time in town that yard signs for campaign purposes were not very well looked upon. So,
Right.
And now they're all over the place sometimes. So
Yeah.
I just had that question. So if there's any need to go further with this, you go to the planning board.
On the signs, political
Yes,
signs,
yes.
it would be a zoning change.
Zoning
And
change,
I'd
yeah,
appreciate
okay.
if somebody wants to do something like that, to work with the planning board. The members are in favor of going forward with it, then we can write something up.
Okay.
Alan, thank you for working on this. I know you put a lot of time and effort into these, and you do a lot of research. Is your criteria for the size of signs something that's arbitrary, or is it have something to do with state law or what other towns allow, or how'd you come up with these dimensions?
No, it's completely arbitrary, although I did run around town, and I've got 2 pages of signs I measured for the square footage to make sure most of them were already conforming to it. I got numbers like 30 square feet. There's one here that's 40 square feet, which is the worst one. Most of them are 10, 14, 22. There's another 40. Well, that's the same one.
Well,
So most of them are under the number we're putting there now.
Well, that raises the big question is, are any of the signs currently in town in violation of your new requirements?
It wouldn't matter, they'd be grandfathered.
So they're all gonna get grandfathered?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any
But this would restrict future
new
signs?
ones, correct.
Okay.
And the destruction of signs, things like that, they'd have to come back and meet the conforming sign square footage.
You also have a, under variances, that variances will not be granted.
Correct.
You will not consider any variance to this at all.
Correct.
For any reason.
Yeah.
Is there a reason for that?
The max sizes, because we tend to lose control over the size of signs, even in our present bylaw, that it appears that even though the size is X, they go X plus plus, and it just gets out of hand. The minute you go X plus plus, somebody says, well, his sign is plus plus, mine's got to be plus 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 plus. And the next guy wants it bigger, and they just keep growing in size.
And do you think there should be some sort of central authority governing the signs? Not something that each
Board has?
each public entity has the ability to approve?
Well, it's up to, I think the board's more in favor of letting each commission do what they want to do instead of having a central authority. It never takes the capability of the selectmen to have a sign taken down. You have that authority under your, under the town charter, chapter 8, section 3, where you can condone and remove signs. So it doesn't take that authority away from you. If you don't like the sign that's another board or commission puts up, you could have it removed.
So under your grandfathering, you also have a restriction here for removing or reconstructing signs.
Right.
So even though it's a grandfathered sign, if they have to replace it,
If it's removed,
reconstructed.
or if it's reconstructed, torn down a storm or something like that, then they'd have to come under the requirements of the bylaw.
all right. And this has to be, after you discuss it with the planning board, it'll be reviewed by town council?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, okay.
That's standard procedure. We will have, in fact, usually we wait until after the public hearing before we send it to the town council. We don't want to keep bothering them. Costs us money.
Yeah, you also mentioned that an illuminated sign shall be permitted, no illuminated sign should be permitted if creates a traffic hazard. And obviously, the purpose of a sign is for people to be able to read it. Whose determination is it that it's a traffic hazard?
I would say police and fire.
Police or fire?
Yeah.
I think you might want to designate that in there, or maybe a little more specific.
That's pretty well designated as a review. Let's see, we got a section for them. Yeah, 6831, review. Copy of proposed public sign to be placed on town property shall be forwarded to the police and fire department for the review and recommendations. That's the same type of language that the zoning board of appeals meets. Although I only have a 10 calendar day turnaround time, which is fairly short. Zoning board of appeals, if they were looking at a sign, a business sign or something like that, would be 30 days. But that's more of a business type sign arrangement. And
Right.
we just, as I said, we don't get into that.
I want to thank you, Alan, for all the time you put into this. I know that seems to be forever and a day coming forward with all the foul weather we've had. But, thank you for your time and your patience with all this. In reading through this, I couldn't help but somehow getting lost between lit signs, unlit signs, flashing signs, non-flashing signs. I understand where you say the prohibited signs pretty much overrule in the other parts where there is mention of those signs. I just have, does that cause an issue with whomever might be coming before your board requesting a sign, that maybe there may be wiggle room there for them to allow it to be subject to interpretation?
Well, first, they wouldn't be coming before the planning board. We don't have any signs we'd be putting up. Second, I think what you're referring to is like in residential area, it says such sign may be white lighted, but shall not be flashing. And that's sort of cross out. And that, but shall not be flashing is a recurring theme throughout our present bylaw.
Right.
So instead of crossing that out, I said maybe for the ease of passing the bylaw, under the prohibited uses, it says shall not be flashing.
Do you think you should make reference to that specific section?
I don't think you need to. I think it covers it twice.
Okay.
In both
Okay.
cases,
I just-
says shall not be flashing.
The only reason why I bring it up is, I play with the tax code all the time. If you leave a little bit of room,
Yep.
we're gonna march through it.
Well, I've got that marked down here for discussion for tomorrow night.
Okay,
It's sort of a legal question, so our chairman's pretty sharp with that stuff.
okay. That was really my only issue was was with the flashing signs. I know that
Yeah.
a lot of people prefer not to have something possibly flashing into their house.
Oh,
That
yeah.
they take exception to that, so if,
We
we
don't
could
allow
clear
it,
that.
we don't allow it now in town with the exception of one district. And that's it.
but, well done, thank you very much.
Okay.
I have a question for Ellen. May I ask a question? Is that okay?
Yes.
Ellen, the campaign signs,
Jill, will you step up to the mic,
Oh,
please, so
I'm
people can hear you?
sorry.
Yeah, okay.
again, Jill Giuliano. I have a question for Ellen Dracious. Ellen, what are the present guidelines for the campaign signs? Do you know?
There aren't any.
Oh, so you can put those signs anywhere?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You can't put them on public property.
that-
You can put them on private property
Yeah, you
with
just
permission.
can't go put them all
Not
over the
public
school
property.
grounds. and-
Heather had a question.
Hi, Heather.
23 Canterbury, what area allows flashing signs? You said except for one district. Can you specify exactly what you're talking about?
Route 1 going northbound.
Route 1 northbound?
Correct.
So in the area, the intersection of Canterbury, in that area?
Yes.
That allows for flashing signs?
Yes. It was missed in here. Almost every other district specifies non-flashing signs, except that area. It's just silent.
Can that be, how
If
would you fix that?
that would be affixed to the bylaw, actually, that's in here now. Under the prohibited types of signs, it says no flashing signs, so that would fix that. But anything already in there now, you're dealing with businesses and not residential property, that's under zoning board of appeals, and that would definitely be grandfathered, for the most part.
Is there an existing sign there that's flashing, or are you talking about future signs?
Fat
I'm
cactus.
talking about the-
Fat Cactus is obviously one, but you don't see it from your house.
No, but
Yeah.
I mean, there is one sign that's rather large that's facing Canterbury Road, which is the Bridgewell sign,
Mhm.
which is really large, and we can see it all the way down the end of Canterbury today.
Well, if CVS gets their way, it's gonna be a different sign in the next year or two. Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Mrs. Shea?
Hello, I'm Katie Shea. I just wanted to bring to everybody's attention, I think we're aware of this, but there is a sign, it's a flashing computer sign, that's on 128 in the Holiday Inn parking lot, which is less than a tenth of a mile from Greenwood Street, which is flashing into many neighborhoods over in your area. And a resident has written a letter to Brad Jones, because this was actually moved from one residential area in Peabody and brought on the edge of Lynnfield. So it's now flashing into our town. I don't know if we can do anything about this, but for the people of Lynnfield, I think as elected officials, we should really try to protect our residents in Lynnfield that are exposed to this, because it's been pushed out of one area and now it's into our neighborhoods. Thank you.
Haven't we already, that has already been discussed and Peabody's been,
Yeah, we've already spoken to Peabody. They
Yeah.
didn't have to give us any notification. We didn't get any notification. We have contacted Brad Jones's office, and he's looking into it on our behalf also.
I think this is a different issue. The other issue is the actual billboard. This is something that's in a parking lot, correct? This is something different?
Katie, you're talking about that big electronic billboard that's behind the Holiday Inn, right?
Behind-
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Same
that's the
one.
same
Somewhere,
one.
okay.
one.
Thought there
Yeah.
was something.
So we've been
I
in
thought
touch
there
with.
was a flashing sign
Yeah,
closer to
Mr.
Route
Jones
1.
was supposed to get back to us.
Yeah, we'll have to follow up with him this week, but he's looking into it for us also.
Great.
Yep.
Alan, just one last question. So that, how does, like the Fat Cactus sort of has a 3D sign? That might be the last three-dimensional sign we might see?
That's true, too. If I don't think this bylaw addresses 3D signs.
I didn't
Our
see
bylaw
anything.
presently doesn't, and I didn't want to change anything in the bylaw that the zoning board of appeals reviews now.
So if it's silent, what does that mean?
That's up to them,
Up to who?
the zoning board of appeals.
Okay.
because that sign's gonna change, because they're changing the Fat Cactus. And,
Okay.
So whatever the new sign is would have to comply with the new bylaw if we adopt it.
Probably not.
Because that side of Route 1 is not part
Because
of
they're
this,
not under the
right?
same restrictions?
My understanding, and this is a legal opinion now, which I'm not really good at giving, so you'd have to check with town council, but my understanding is if a sign's up there and it's doing its thing, and they want to change the wording or the colors, they can do that. And you can't review it through the zoning board of appeals again. They have the right to just do it. So it's, I don't know the answer to it.
Okay.
I have one other question. Speaking of the lighting behind Canterbury for the auto dealerships,
You want to move up to the mics just so there's people that are at home listening?
speaking of the auto dealerships behind Canterbury Road, can you confirm what time those lights have to go, what time they go on and when they shut off, and what the bylaws are around that? Because they're on pretty late.
Here, the on and off times are a function of, I believe, the selectmen. Can I dump that back to you? Because it's operating, business operating, or the permits through the zoning board of appeals. So it's one or the other, and I'm not sure who it is. The only thing the bylaw addresses in lighting is the overspill out of the parking lot. There's a spec on that, and that was done because of the Mercedes dealership. We finally adopted that.
If you get back to the town hall tomorrow, they can give you those times. 'Cause we weren't prepared to. A ZBA, but we might have it. We must have it. Be in the special permit, yeah, the times, so we can
Yeah, we can
look it
at
up
the
tomorrow.
times.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alan,
you,
appreciate
Alan.
it.
Thank you.
Change of manager, legal seafood. How are you? That's you. Come on up. Welcome.
This is one we should have, start having the meetings at the other location.
Hi, good evening. I'm Donna Cruz, and I'm a paralegal at the Corporate Offices of Legal
Donna.
Seafoods. I've been here before. And I have the manager that we are petitioning. His name is Chris McGowan.
Right. Hi, Chris.
How you doing, Chris?
To
Okay.
be on the liquor license.
Chris, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I've been with Legal Seafoods for 4 years now. I've been in the restaurant industry pretty much 30 years, my whole life. I love it. I've been in the front of the house. I've worked in the front of the house. I'm a chef by trade, so that's what I do. As a chef, I oversee most of the operations of the restaurant, even in the front of the house with the managing partner, the GM. We're an open kitchen.
All right.
Excuse me. I'm sure, have any of you gentlemen been there? Yeah. So
Yes.
Many
it's a-
times.
It's a pretty open restaurant, so,
yeah.
yeah. It's a fun place to be at, fun place to work.
Can you tell us about the different certificates that you have, such as Serve Safe, etc.?
Yeah, I have the alcohol serve safe, the food serve safe, crowd control. What else is there?
Any samples with you?
No, sorry. Sorry. I'll be there later if you're coming in. No. Big crowd, I would have had to bring a lot of food.
Are you going to continue to act as a chef, as manager?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I'm the chef there. I opened the restaurant and I plan on being there for the
Oh, you've been there since the
yeah,
beginning?
yeah, I
Okay.
opened it with them.
Oh, great.
So,
Yeah.
I was in Burlington before that.
Excellent. It's one of my favorite restaurants, so
Good,
been there
excellent.
many times.
Yeah, we've had some great feedback. It's a great location. We have a great location right there in the front.
Yep.
So it's been well for us, other than the snow.
Of course, the concerns we have are certainly managing the serve safe correctly and make sure that the patrons are shut off if they're drinking too much, or just keep an eye, make sure
Yeah.
that everybody's of age that does get served, and those are our biggest concerns,
Absolutely.
particularly with the amount of business that goes through that location. So that's what we want to make sure, that you've had the experience on that end of it, and that you and your assistant managers have that at at your forefront on a daily basis. So
Of course, yes. We have and she'll vouch for this, we have a very well-trained staff, and all of the staff goes through the same training in regards to serve safe alcohol. So It's a high priority.
Is there an external sound system there?
On the outside,
Right.
just on the patio, underneath the patio there.
I really,
Complaints?
no. I actually, I never even heard it walking by. So I'm sure it's not that loud, but obviously you're the closest restaurant to our neighbors.
Sure.
So it's important that we respect the sound
Yeah.
so that they could enjoy their evenings as well at home.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I will. I'll speak with my front of the house team and make sure they're not turning that up. I mean, obviously this time of the year we don't have it on, but I could see in the summer. So
Well, Legal C they've been there a while now, and they're doing a great job. And pretty much this is straightforward. You're up to date on everything. You're got a good record and everything else. So
yep.
I think it's.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Christopher McGowan as the new manager of Legal Seafood.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Chris. Good luck.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And what time do you close?
We'll be closing 10 tonight. You guys gonna be done by then?
No.
Have a good night.
You too.
If you can't get the PowerPoint going, we're gonna be here a while. We get Linda next.
Okay, we're going to go into our 2016 budget reviews, and the first up is Council on Aging. Linda, welcome, as always.
Hi, Linda, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Hi, Linda.
Okay, so we'll be brief. I'm here tonight with 3 members of our board. Fred Santangelo, our chairman. Jim Walsh, our vice chairman.
I'm very important on that. Should have name tags.
I like to yank Jim's chain. And Ann Horahan, our secretary.
Hello, welcome.
I'm going to speak to you for just a minute, and then Fred has a few words to say, too. This year, we are requesting one addition to one line item, and that's in our meal program. Right now, the town currently subsidizes $2 per meal for 80 meals a week. We've asked for an increase last year for this number to go up to 100 meals a week. We were given half of that last year, so we're here tonight to ask for the other half, which is $1,333.93. The way the subsidy works is every time a meal is served, the town pays $2 for that meal. We actually are serving well over 200 meals a week, but because Lynnfield seniors pay $2 a meal in addition, and non-Lynnfield seniors pay $3 a meal in addition, we can kind of cover that extra 100 meals each week. So that's our only request. The reason why that's our only request is because we have a very active Friends who pay for pretty much everything you see when you walk in the center, all of our furnishings, speakers, entertainment, party supplies, sofas, chairs, tables, window treatments, computer lab, hair salon, exercise room, copiers, everything. So that allows us to keep our budget at less than 0.5%. We like to remind you of that, just in case you didn't know. Any questions on that?
Now excuse me. How many meals are you doing a week now?
Around 200 to 250.
250?
Mm-hmm.
Do you see that maybe growing in numbers?
We turn people away most days because we don't have the space.
Okay.
We don't have the seating space for them.
And I know you have excellent meals there, and you have
We do.
people from Lynnfield and other towns,
Yes.
neighboring towns.
Lynnfield seniors pay $2 and non-Lynnfield pay $3.
And I think this is a great service because the meal that you provide might be the best meal they have of the day. So
Absolutely, it is.
yeah, so it's good, nutritious food, and I think
It
it's
is. It's all made from
plus.
scratch.
Right.
Even most of the breads are made from scratch.
So I think you're doing a great job in the Council on Aging and all the people that work there. I think you're just doing an excellent job for the
Thank you.
seniors.
Okay, Fred, do you want to come up? Thank you.
Linda, you have done a great job up there, and I've been working with you for several years. I think you're a victim of your own success, especially with the new chef that came in a couple of years ago, and that certainly has expanded the food side of it. I'll let Fred speak first. I did want to talk a little bit about repairs and things up there that we've talked about over the years.
Okay.
But why don't we let Fred talk first?
Go ahead, Fred.
Hi, Fred.
Good evening.
Hi, Fred.
I think in your packet, I don't know if you had a chance to look over it, but there is a growth chart that was put together by Jack Bittner. It's titled the United States Seniors Population Growth Chart, and it reflects the significant growth that has taken place and will continue to do so in the next 5 to 15 years for seniors in the United States and Lynnfield. By 2050, 90-year-olds and older will be 10% of our population. So, we're rounded third, we're on our way home, and so we're going to be around for a while. So
Yes.
we need to adjust for that kind of growth and plan for it. We've experienced the effects of this rapid growth and ability to provide adequate services to our seniors, and it's tremendously impacted us to this point. In the past 10 years, participation has grown from 50 seniors a day to an average of 210 people a day. The number of programs offered has increased from 5 to 16 programs a day. Lunches served per day has increased from 15 to 50 plus per day. And as Linda had told you, we turn 10 to 20 people away every day. The staff has increased from 6 to 7.5 people. We've added a full-time cook and a part-time van driver. Staff hours have increased from 19 hours to 30 hours a week. In effect, they're all full-timers now. The center is open 32 hours a week. And it's hard getting people out there at 3 o'clock, so they would stay if we allowed them to stay. Due to the lack of space, which we've talked about in many years, and we still continue to do that, we can't offer new programs unless one is canceled. It's just that we just can't accommodate the things that we'd like to offer because of lack of space. We must limit our daily lunches to 15 people. Many days, as I said, we turn away 10 or 20 people and maybe more in some cases. As you had indicated, Dave, that people from out of town come, and as you know, by state law, if we take grant money, it's open to anybody that belongs in the state. So that's the reason, and we've made the price adjustment for Lynnfield residents as well as out-of-towners. So they do pay 33% more than the locals. Regular programs for the big room must be canceled if we want to have a special program like a Christmas program or a Thanksgiving luncheon or St. Patty's Day, which Jimmy will probably sing at, and and St. Patrick's Day and Valentine's Day. So if you offer something new, you have to give up something. So it's a logistics issue with the lack of space. So my next thing is, as you probably know, I want to say is when additional space from the South School becomes available and becomes a reality, we will be able to offer additional programs, increase the number of lunches that are served, and utilize the big room more effectively. So that's the game plan. We're trying to deal with the amount of growth that's taking place in the senior population. Linda's done a fantastic job there. People love it. I've talked to a lot of the people that have attended there, and probably 99.9% of the people love it and enjoy it and appreciate what we have there and what the town has allowed us to have. So with that said, on behalf of the staff and the board of directors, I thank you for your continued support. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Fred.
Linda, whoever eats your meals, they have to be eaten at the facility, right?
Yes.
Right, because of laws and all
Yes.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So how can we not turn people away? That just irks me a little bit that we have to turn people away from
Well,
food.
because we don't have space to
Right.
feed them. Our dining room is only so big. It seats, we squeeze in about 50 people into that room. And there's really no place else for them to go. For our big events, we turn away, for our Thanksgiving luncheon, we turned away 150 people. And our Thanksgiving luncheon, we served 150 people, and I'd say 135 of them were Lynnfield. And there were a lot of Lynnfield people on the waiting list as well.
So how much extra space do you need? I mean, if you were to feed more people.
Well, I mean, ideally, I'm sure we could, depending on the day, you know, we could serve about 70 people. We were trying to do that for a while, and it just got insane. We had people going every which way with food, and it was just not the best thing.
Okay.
Does your current chef and staff have the ability to serve that many people if they do have room?
Well,
we
our
have to
chef
expand
is
that?
the staff of one. Our kitchen is a staff of one. Every other senior center who has meals bought in and they don't cook anything on site, they have staffs of 2 and 3 just to accept the food, serve it, keep it warm, serve it, and clean it up. Our chef cooks it all. He shops for it. He does all the paperwork for it, all the bookkeeping. He cleans the kitchen, you know, to meet the health inspector's code. So he's a one-man band. We do have a few volunteers in there, a few days on the heaviest days, washing dishes and all. So, I mean, he could handle 70 meals a week for sure.
In addition?
Yeah.
I think the configuration of the school is kind of a restriction that you have. I mean, the space you're in doesn't have an abutting space that would, that if it opened up, could add on.
Well,
to
what
you
we
have.
could do if we had more space from the school side is we could take the last program of the morning that's in the big room and put them over in the larger space on the school side, opening up the big room for meals,
In addition
which
to
would
what
be
you
a national, you know, it's right off the kitchen. That would be the natural progression.
Well, I know last year we worked out and the schools were very generous, and we worked out one large room for you.
Yes,
as
that's
an addition.
been
And
huge
this year,
help.
they've agreed to give you another space about half that size, I believe,
Oh.
in addition to what you have. So I know the expansion's coming slowly, but it has added on, and hopefully it's able to at least keep the programs you have, if not add new programs. But until we know where everybody's going, which has a lot to do with the Capital Facilities Advisory Committee and what their recommendations are going to be, I don't know if anything's going to open up in the near future, but we certainly, it's certainly part of the entire town plan that we're going to be looking at.
Okay.
All right, but you guys really do a great job up there, and I appreciate the board members and all the time they put in.
The
'Cause I know
board
that
is
the friends and
fantastic.
everybody do a great job. I've met
Well,
with them.
Jimmy's a little.
Yeah.
No,
Even
we
you,
do.
Jim.
We have.
I'm glad you know my name.
We have about 100 volunteers too that are just. We couldn't do it without the board and the friends and the volunteers. It's really a group effort down there. It's not me. It's at all. It's a fantastic team.
I think
So-
you have a little bit to do with it.
Well, and the staff, every member of the staff is there because they want to be there. Most of them have been there for as long as I have, and so it's a good group.
Yeah,
Very,
one-
very
One of
fortunate.
the other questions I had was about your capital items that we talked about and some of the repairs that we did. Can you give me an update on what was done since last year?
As
and-
far
As
as,
far as some of the capital repairs that we were talking about?
we're still waiting on the landing in the front. That is still, in fact, somebody fell a couple weeks ago again on that. That's a real top priority.
That's a trip hazard.
Yes. And there's no, from the big room, we have an exit sign, but it's all grass. So, and people have fallen when they go out during fire drills or what have you. They have fallen out there. So that needs to have a sidewalk put in. Hopefully those will be spring projects. The floors have been maintained. We've had some different air conditioning units installed in the kitchen area. You know, there's still some little. We've had some electrical things put in, but the landing is actually the biggest issue right now, and the sidewalk.
Well, we'll put that on the list if it's. I'm sure it's already there.
It is.
To address
We've
it
met
in the
with
spring.
Andrew, and he's
Yeah.
trying to get it into the spring
Absolutely.
and summer.
Excellent.
Well, I want to thank you, Linda, and your board, and all the volunteers that go down to make the senior center a very special place. I know that a lot of my relatives that are seniors go to different senior centers in their own communities, and they really love it. And from the times that I've been at the senior center, everybody has a smile. So that's worth a million words.
It's a lifesaver for seniors. It is. You don't realize until you're in that position yourself. I always said that with my mom was in Virginia, and when she would come, she would look 100 years old, and when she'd spend 2 weeks with me at the senior center every day, she'd go home looking 20 years younger, just because of that socialization. So it's really, and from the bottom of my heart, I can't thank this town for what you have done for the senior center, because most towns don't. And this town has made it a priority, so we are so grateful for that.
Great.
We appreciate it.
I also want to thank you for a few other things. In here, your explanation of even a small increase is well explained, which is very important for myself, and I'm sure the people that are reading your request. Also, thank you for pursuing the grants.
Oh,
that's really important. I know that it may open the door to people from out of town, but there's nothing wrong with that. That's great that people can come together, chit chat a bit, enjoy time with each other, and play cards or games, whatever they may do to enjoy each other's company. That's just really, really good, and it's good to the heart.
It is good.
It really is.
And I will tell you, a lot of non-Lynnfield residents are our biggest volunteers. Most of our friends are now non-Lynnfield seniors who are doing all the fundraising for the center. So it does come back to you. And the reason why the explanation is so clear is because the budget is my weak link, and if I don't write it clearly, I can't explain it to you. So when I'm writing it, I'm putting everything down I can think of to help myself. So I'm glad it's helping you
You're
too.
doing great, really great.
Fred.
Just a point of information, I think it's important to understand and know that some of those out-of-towners that come here were formerly locals.
Yes.
So it's total strangers. They still want to come back and be with their friends and relatives or whatever. So it's not 100% out-of-towners in that respect.
We have a breakfast table every Friday of 12 Lynnfield seniors. There are now only 4. The others have all moved out of town, but they still come back for breakfast. But they're no longer considered Lynnfield residents. So.
When I came down there today a few times, there were quite a few people that never resided in Lynnfield but had friends here.
Yeah.
They come with their friend, and
Right.
they make new friends and get to enjoy more people's company. So I think that's really great. At the budget summit, there was you brought up an issue of a phone system. Has that been resolved?
The Friends have stepped forward and want to pay for the phones. So the Friends will be buying the new phone system.
That's awfully nice of them. Thank
It
you
is.
for the Friends.
Been great supporters of
They have been.
the senior center. In fact, all the internal furnishings and paintings and furnitures have all been compliments of the Friends and the money fundraising efforts that they've gone through.
It's awfully nice of them. Thank
Yeah,
you.
it is.
Thank you all for all your efforts. It's really well appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything
Thank you,
else?
Linda.
Okay, thanks.
Just a quick update for the board before Linda goes. I have met with the superintendent on that room. It's about half, Jane, depending upon the room that we're gonna split. Yes. About half. It kind of moves back and forth depending upon what the builders take us. And then in Andrew's capital budget is money for a sliding divider, so when that room gets bigger, there'll be a divider that they can divide that room up. And that's in the capital plan, and it's in my preliminary capital budget. So, and I think most importantly for the Council on Aging Board, you do get the thermostat on your side of the wall. It was very important that they wanted the thermostat, so they get the thermostat.
Take that gift. Put a bow on it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay, Fire Department. Chief Tetra, how are you doing?
Get that working, chief.
We get the same issue behind the fire department, the South Station. all the kids walk in to get dropped off, walk into the dance studio, and it's all broken up back there, just like the senior center.
Hi, Chief.
Okay, I had to give up a little something because my jump drive and my clicker don't fit side by side, so I'm gonna have to do this manually.
But I have one question before you start.
Yes.
The presentation you're going to give today, right now, is it based on the way the fire department is currently set up, or are you going into a new look for the fire department?
I would like to go into a new look for the fire department.
Okay. I'm just asking the question because when I was looking at some of the stuff, it's just a little different than.
Okay, well, in 1971, the town implemented the current business plan for the fire department. And in general terms, we're still working under that plan. We cover the station 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. In 1971, we had 2 at South Station, 3 at headquarters. Now we have 3 and 3.
Okay.
Chief, can you pull the mic closer to you?
Most fire departments in the area have embraced a career business plan. Most departments are full-time. They have people on duty 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And to do that would cost the town about $1.5 million just in salaries alone. All right. In 1971, the family was much simpler. Typically, there'd be one breadwinner for the family. One adult would stay home with the kids as a homemaker, and the other adult in the household was free to be a call firefighter, basically leave anytime they wanted to. And employers were very flexible. If there was a fire, you could generally leave work. The family structure was much like you see here. And when I was showing this to some of my firefighters, they didn't know who that was. So.
I know who that is.
Today, most families are dual income. Life is much more hectic, and we have after-school activities and sports, non-traditional families. People are juggling childcare responsibilities. So even if they're home, sometimes they can't come to a fire call or to an ambulance call because they're taking care of the kids or whatever. And it's very rare that employees will allow their employees to leave to go to an emergency call. This is a nationwide problem. Retention and recruitment in firefighters is described as one of the most daunting challenges facing government leaders in the fire service across the country. And Lynnfield is not immune to that. In 1971, if you wanted to be a firefighter, you came to the fire station, you said to the chief, hey, I want to be a firefighter. He gave you your coat, your boot, and your helmet, and said, you're a firefighter. Now, training requirements to be a firefighter have increased exponentially. A modern just a call firefighter has more basic training. It involves in much more different hazards than they were in 1971. And now we require our firefighters to be more of a jack of all trades. Proficiencies they never would have expected in 1971. In 1971, you went to fires and maybe a car accident now and then. And for hazardous materials, you would go and wash the gasoline down the storm drains. Now it's much more involved than that. A typical call firefighter requires hundreds of hours of training. As you can see, firefighter 1 and 2 is over 300 hours. To be an EMT is another 160 hours. Incident command is 16 hours, and then all the advanced training. And then you have to go back at least 50 hours a year just to keep current. the day in the life of a call firefighter. We have sleep, we have work, we have training, we have alarms, we have family. So you can see the fire department takes up a pretty good chunk of that time. And when the fire department starts to infringe on things like sleep or family time, something's got to give. A little bit of a story back in time. You don't need to look very far to see a combination fire department that suddenly and unexpectedly failed. The Hooksett, New Hampshire Fire Department is a little bit bigger than us. The community has 15,000 people. They're a little bit busier than us. They do about 2,200 calls a year. But remember that 2,200 calls a year. I'll get back to that. The Hooksett Fire Department is a career fire department. 7 firefighters on a shift and operate with a budget of $3.9 million. Well, let's take a step back and see how they got there. In 1988, Hooksett was a much smaller community. They had about 9,000 people. They staffed 2 fire stations with 5 people. Sound familiar? The call fire department started to fail, and no one really recognized that. It was taking a little longer to get out, and firefighters were filling in as officers, and officers were filling in as firefighters just because they weren't getting enough people coming back. Around that time, they had a call that resulted in a fatality. It was a medical call. It took the fire department a long time to get there, and I don't want you to think that this person passed away because the fire department took too long to get there. It was one of the factors, and this person was very sick and may have passed anyway. I don't want you to think that I'm trying to say they're responsible, but ultimately what happened is there was a public outcry, and they said we need to do something about the fire department. And that very year, they added 13 firefighters to their career roles, and before long, their call firefighters went into irrelevance, and they are where they are today. So we have some of these challenges ahead. Since I've been chief, this is my first budget that I presented to you. Our system relies heavily on our career staff responding during off hours. Depending on the responses, officers need to fill in for firefighters. Firefighters are filling in for officers. And there's some red flags that indicate our system is stressed. The first thing is our response times, and these are night and weekend response times. So that's the time it takes for when you call 911 until the time the fire truck arrives at your house. And you can see over the years we're increasing, and we started out at just over 7.5 minutes. We're up to 9.5 minutes, and we've projected that to go even higher. Call volume is up. As you can see, we started out about 1,350 calls. In 1971, we were doing about 600 calls. This past year, we were up over 1,700 calls, and after the first month and a half of this year, if we continue at the pace we're at now, we'll do over 2,200 calls next year. We expect it will subside, but you never know. Simultaneous calls are increasing. That means we have one alarm in, another alarm comes in while the people are already out at that previous alarm. So when you come in for a call, the call that used to be an hour and a half, you're now here for 4 hours because more than one call came in. And if you can imagine, I had to get up and go to work the next day, and I was up 3 or 4 hours in the middle of the night. NFPA 1720 is a standard that kind of governs fire department response times. 1720 says we should get to our alarms within 9 minutes, and during the day we do pretty well. Night and weekends, we're going in the opposite direction. 9 minutes is a long time to wait for a fire truck to show up at your home. All signs are pointing to the fact that our system has exceeded capacity. It's a tribute to our firefighters. They have been able to maintain the system this long, and we've done it longer than anybody else in the area. My concern is once we exceed our capacity, system failure could occur relatively rapidly. And this is our current system of staffing alarms. This is based on the number of calls we do a year. Most of our, just over 50% of our calls are covered by the career staff, which is on 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. And the rest is covered by our call and off-duty permanent firefighters coming back at night. And this is how the coverage is configured. When we took over the ambulance, we put one person on the ambulance, and they work 2 12-hour shifts. We have one person. And then during the day, we have 2 engine companies, one at the north end and one at the south end of town. So what are our goals and solutions? Okay, our primary goal is continue to provide the best possible services and the most economical cost to the residents of Lynnfield. We feel maintaining an active and vibrant combination career call department into the foreseeable future is the best way we can provide service. We're not looking to go to an all-career model. We feel that we can do a better job with using the current model and just increasing that time that we staff. Continue to seek solutions to recruiting and retaining call firefighters. As I said, it's becoming more difficult. Right now we have a group of experienced firefighters on the call company, and we have new people, and we have very few people in between. So if we get all the new people coming back, sometimes it's like, ooh, do we want to send that engine? We have all new people, and sometimes we have to. So if we add people every year and retain the people we have, eventually we'll have a good mix of people. So we won't have to worry about all new people. We'll have some new people, some people have been here for a while, and some people have been here a long time. So the solution that I'm proposing is to increase our career staffing to provide on-duty coverage 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. Maintain our call company at full staffing. We're allowed 32 positions, so let's keep 32 positions on there. That's something that I have to take care of. Develop a platoon system for calling back our firefighters, so that for the routine calls, we put people on call certain nights and not on call other nights. Obviously, if it's a fire or an all-call, everybody comes, but for the routine home medical calls, fire alarm activations, we would only call back a certain percentage of our firefighters. And develop our Explorer program to recruit new young members into the force. The Explorer program is a new program we've implemented to attract high school students aged 14 to 18 to learn about the fire department. And the Explorer program becomes a feeder organization for the fire department. I myself started as an Explorer with the Franklin Fire Department, and for 2 years, and then proceeded up to be a call firefighter, eventually a career firefighter. And this is the proposed staffing plan. We'd have 2 groups, Group 1 and Group 2, and they would be on 3 days on, 3 days off. Move the daytime ambulance person to nighttime, so we would have 2 people on the ambulance at night instead of 7 people on during the day and 1 person at night. It kind of didn't make sense to me. And this is how we would arrange the groups. Group 1 would be would have 2 companies consisting of some of our current career firefighters. We would add 1 career firefighter, and the rest of the positions we would cover with our current call staff. And we feel that integrates the call company into the day-to-day operations of the fire department, so that they're involved, so they don't become irrelevant. And we would do that for both groups. And this is how our proposed staffing configuration would look for alarms. We would actually be on duty for 2/3 of our alarms and relying on callbacks and off duty 1/3 of the time. So we would need to add 6 full-time equivalent positions to the fire department. That would consist of 2 career firefighters, and then we would hire 2 firefighters from our call staff every day to fill out the groups. Because we're not calling back our career and call firefighters as often, there's some offsetting savings of about $100,000. If we simply hired 6 career firefighters, the cost would be about $500,000, and nobody wants to hear that. But by hiring a combination of career and call firefighters, we reduce that cost to about $288,000. We then compared to other communities in Massachusetts and said, what do we have for communities that are within 1,000 population of Lynnfield and provide both fire and EMS, because some don't provide EMS, and it's not a really good comparison. So we did that. We came up with about 13 communities. So we looked at the percentage of the budget that those communities dedicate to fire protection. And on average, they dedicate 5.2% of their budget to fire protection in the ambulance service. In Lynnfield, we dedicate 3.8. We looked at the number of career firefighters. On average, those communities had 17 career firefighters. In Lynnfield, we have 8. So then we said, okay, well, let's base it on population. And the other 13 communities have 1 career firefighter for every 919 people. Lynnfield has 1 for every 1,450 people. So then we looked at call volume and said, how many career firefighters per call, so to speak. And the other communities, about every 126 calls, they had a career firefighter. In Lynnfield, we have 208. So the Lynnfield Fire Department is a good value. So the benefits is to continue the evolution of a currently operational efficient system of the fire department, to maintain a combination call career fire department. This system would more evenly distribute overtime to our career staff. It addresses increased service demands being placed on the fire department. We all love that Market Street's here, and the 3 big departments that it impacts: police, fire, and ambulance. We need to look at putting some of that money into those departments. We need to reduce the stress on our call company to ultimately preserve that call company. If it fails, they're gone and never to be reformed again. We want to continue to integrate our call and career staff into the department daily operations. Ultimately, we want to decrease response time. When you're waiting for a fire truck or an ambulance, we want to get there in a timely fashion. And we feel this establishes a new business model for the future. It also meets the recommendations of the 2009 consultants report that says we need to continue to evolve our combination system or it will go away. Any questions on that?
So, in your opinion, this will make the fire department a better department for the town?
I believe it will, yes.
And based on the budget for this versus the budget for what you currently have now, what's the difference?
The current budget is about 5%, and the proposal will make it about a 15% increase.
And are you looking at increments or, introducing this in certain sections, or are you looking at all at one time?
Honestly, I think the best option is to do it all at one time. Obviously, you're the select board. You decide the level of service. So what you tell me to do is what we'll do. If you tell us to fight fire with buckets and water, we'll fight fire with buckets and water. Just the expectation can't be so high.
Yeah.
Well,
we may be the select board, but you're the one that runs the department, and you see what's going on, and you have the people that know what they're doing. So, I mean, that's why I'm asking your opinion of what do you think is the right way to do.
My opinion is to go at one time. That allows us to go to the 12-hour shifts, as opposed to trying, because we have to renegotiate with the union how their shifts would work. So I think the best thing would be, and if we had evolved over the past 40 years, this would have been an easy, we would kind of have flowed into this, but we haven't. We haven't evolved over the last 40 years, and now I think we're at a critical juncture where, some of our career staff, you saw how much money they're making. A lot of it's not because they want to make a lot of money, it's because they feel obligated that if they don't come back, that could be their parent, or their relative, or their house. they come back because a lot of them are paramedics and they provide advanced life support. So a lot of them don't want to make so much money. They'd rather stay home on occasion. So I think the best thing would be to do this all at once.
And have you talked to your supervisors and captains and
I have.
staff and all that?
We've had an officers meeting where we presented this. I've talked with the firefighters union, who is amicable to, they think that we need to do something, and they would be agreeable to a plan like this. I've talked to the call firefighters. I think the majority of the call firefighters are on board. There are a few that are a little nervous because firefighters don't like change. That's our job. But I think once they see that even the people that may not like this plan said we have to do something. We're not going to be able to survive a lot longer under the current system, especially where our call volume could go up to 2,200 calls in a year.
Because you're right, this has been brought up many times before, and it's been discussed, but over the years, nothing's really been done about it. This is a big deal, okay, for our fire department. This is a big deal. So the reason I'm bringing all this stuff up is it may not all happen at once. It may go in increments or just phases as we move forward. But
I think it's critical that we do something.
okay, I can understand that. But if it's not all at once, then it's got to be kept in the motion to keep looking at what's the next step and what's the next step after that.
I really think that this is where we need to get. If you decide that we can afford to do a portion of it this year, great. We'll try and make it work.
And then callbacks and all that kind of stuff with overtime, this will cut back on some of that?
It will cut back on some of that, yes, because if we're covering the station 12 hours a day for the routine medical aids and things like that, we're not calling people back into the stations to cover.
Right.
Chief, you did a nice job putting this together. You obviously put a lot of time and effort into it. And, you know, as much as I'm for public safety and everything, I think it needs to be, we have to take a good long look at it. There's many things in here that are probably a little bit off. You talk about comparing us to other communities. Well, these other communities don't have a call career fire mixture like we do. So it's, so it's a little deceiving, you know, when you start talking about the percentages, because it's not the same type of department. So it wouldn't be the same anyways.
The problem you're going to find is finding community that's comparable to us.
Well, you can't.
Exactly.
Yeah, you
so that's why
it's,
I based it on population and service providers.
Yeah, because nothing really comes out to that, because you can't, because we have so many call fire department call members that would offset the number of career members. So it's still, you know, we still service the community very well, and I think they do a pretty nice job. You're indicating that you think it might be getting to a critical point in the near future.
I do.
I don't know if that's necessarily true. We have to look at other things that may also be beneficial to the town. A couple items that come to mind are privatization. Did you look at the numbers of what it might cost the town to privatize one ambulance and have that as your backup instead of, if the call volume is going to be going up, can that handle it instead of hiring new staff and have the town dish out that expense?
Well, we kind of went through the whole privatization thing prior to the fire department taking over the ambulance. And the private company came in and couldn't make any money and left, and so that didn't work. You got to remember that we generate about $400. I mean, it costs us about $400 for every ambulance call, and every transport we generate about $600 in revenue.
Right.
So, I think from a financial standpoint, it makes a lot of sense for the fire department to do the ambulance. You have your friends and neighbors helping you, as opposed to somebody that doesn't have a vested interest in the community, may or may not have a vested interest in the community. And then you have the benefit of cross-training. All our firefighters and our EMTs are cross-trained, so they can do both jobs. You hire a private ambulance to come in, they're EMTs, they're paramedics, that's what they do. They don't do anything else. So I think the biggest bang for your buck is with the municipal fire department, and with the municipal fire department running the ambulance service. And I think there are numerous examples of where privatized ambulance didn't work very well.
And how much of this is currently picked up or could be picked up by mutual aid? Is there a mutual aid agreement that we currently have that picks up some of this, and maybe that could be used at a larger capacity?
Well, you have to remember that our mutual aid, okay, if we call mutual aid, let's say we call North Reading. To get from there to here is about 9 minutes. So that's just the response time, that's not figuring in call handling or anything. So we're gonna send a fire truck to start definitive treatment on this person. So it's gonna cost us money anyway. We're calling mutual aid, it's gonna take 9 minutes, and then we get no revenue for the transport, that goes to North Reading. So calling in mutual aid doesn't really make a lot of sense either. Obviously, we have mutual aid agreements, and when our system is strapped and we have no choice, we call mutual aid. But to call them as the secondary or sometimes even tertiary ambulance, it's gonna cost us money and we get no revenue from the transport. So,
Well, you don't have the cost either.
we do, because we still have to send a fire truck.
Yeah, but the EMTs and the ambulance aren't involved.
Correct. But if we send 3 or 4 people on the fire truck, we're paying for them anyway.
Right, I understand that.
Okay. The other problem you get into mutual aid is, you can overuse mutual aid, where it becomes often referred to as mutual aid instead of mutual aid. And several communities that I've worked in have experienced that, where the neighboring fire chief comes and says, I'm providing a service to your community. That's not mutual aid.
Right.
So, you have to be very careful with using mutual aid to provide service to your community as opposed to helping you out of a jam.
Well, because it isn't your primary service. It would be your, you have these simultaneous calls and overlapping call analysis that you have here. This is what I'd be referring to. You know, because there's got to be some mixture here of increasing either prioritization of mutual aid or organizing our current call staff in a better fashion. In addition to looking at maybe increasing it, if that's what we need. Because you talk about bringing a call person on during the day. Now, don't most call personnel have day jobs typically?
Some of them do, some of them don't. Some of them are, own their own business, so they can make arrangements. Some of them are work different shifts. So a large portion of our call people work day jobs, but a large portion of them are available during the day. Now, if they're not working here, they're working at their own business, doing pounding nails or whatever they do. So they're not necessarily available to come back in a timely fashion, but they can set aside a day to work here, they'll do that.
Right, so you're gonna use the people that have the days available
Correct.
to fill in those spots?
Yes.
And would be organized that the people that don't have that available to them would fill in the night shifts? Or be on the night call?
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm looking at it, I know a lot of call firefighters have, don't have the ability to take that shift during the day.
Mhm.
And, so it's not something, it's a good in theory, but I'm not sure how many of those 30 or 32 call members would actually be able to do that.
Mhm.
Did you have?
We've had fairly good success with filling in vacations and sick time and things like that with call firefighters, because
Yeah.
right now we don't have the ability to hire back our career firefighters to cover a day shift. They're already scheduled to work. So, we've had to utilize that system of hiring call firefighters already. And for the most part, it's worked pretty well.
Well, I think it's a good start. I think it certainly has to be looked at a little more detail. I don't think it's something that we'd wanna do all at once, because I'm not sure it's needed at this point. I think we'd have to talk a little more about it, and maybe we'll have a little more of some private talks too about it, and see what if you can show me where the current system is lacking. And I know you talked about overworked people and that they don't wanna work for the money, but I get a feeling they do. I get a feeling most firefighters like to work for the money, and the ones that make a pretty good buck at it are doing that on purpose.
I think you could strike a balance.
Yeah.
Obviously, we wanna make a good buck, but by the same token, we don't wanna spend every waking hour at the
Oh,
firehouse.
sure, I know, you need some family time and some
Yes.
downtime. I
Yeah.
agree, I agree. Well, thank you, Chief, I appreciate it.
Chief, I want to thank you for really taking a lot of time to create your presentation. I think you put a lot of time and thought into it. I'm sure, you know, we talked about some of these numbers a few months ago, so a lot of what we're discussing right now isn't a surprise. And I think I've said for 2 years now that there's two things that need to happen when you dial 911. Either those red lights better show up fast or the blue lights better show up fast. So with that premise, we need to look at maintaining a very serious response time. We certainly don't want to lose someone because of a response time. So certainly, you definitely had my attention when you said you lost someone in Hooksett, but it wasn't because of the response time. So that was nice to hear. However, in going through this, and this was one of the issues that you know, I brought up when we met, was that is there any other way that we can create more of a balance between our full-time firefighters and more stricter use of our call firefighters, whereby they have certain shifts so that we have more part-time firefighters, so that we can relieve the burden from, you know, someone who may be making all those calls in that would like to spend some family time instead of feeling obligated to come in to answer a bell or what have you. Have you looked at exploring any situations like that?
I think this plan addresses that, and one, that we're integrating our call firefighters into the work schedule, so they're more familiar with the day-to-day operation. And secondly, like I said, a platoon system where for the routine calls, we have certain people that are on call that night, and the expectation is they will come back for those calls, and not necessarily everyone from that station. And I think we're trying to integrate that. We're trying to work through the details of that right now.
So when you say platoon, so you're managing in force, if you will, by groups, right? But the newer staff members, they have to be given a time to learn and to step up as well. You can't just all of a sudden be, you know, gray-haired and now you can take charge.
Right.
There's, I'm sure, very capable younger men these days with all the courses. They're very, very able to handle the stresses of the job. I deal with a lot of firefighters, and to tell you the truth, a lot of them are very young that have very high positions. So I think given the opportunity, we may have a little diamond in the rough there that maybe we could explore a little further. It may require a little more nurturing on your part.
I definitely think we have some diamonds in the rough. We have 3 right now that aren't even career firefighters, and they're going to paramedic school. And as you saw, that's a whole lot of time dedicate for a part-time job, and that's because they're dedicated and want to flourish in this career. Ultimately, do I think they want to be career firefighters? Probably, and hopefully they'll be career firefighters in Lynnfield.
Now, at one point, another issue we discussed at a different time we got together was a regional dispatch center. And you were mentioning that could save us quite a bit of money. Could you maybe go into that? Is that something that we should be considering now if we're going to be...
I come from a system where we had Lakes Region Mutual Fire Aid, and they dispatched for 32 different fire departments. And it was a really good system. It worked very well. It was very high quality. We have a lot more to consider here. The police department dispatches for police, fire, and ambulance, and how would they integrate into, or could they integrate into a regional center, so you can't forget the police department. We have the people that are currently dispatchers here, and how do we, what is their deposition? So on the surface, I think a regional dispatch center is a wonderful idea. I just think there's a lot more to think about besides just, it's a regional center, let's go with it.
Well, in reviewing your budget, I know Chief Breen is out here in the hall. Maybe you could set up a time to meet with him to have coffee to possibly discuss that possibility. If we're looking at spending, $300,000 more, we have to look to try to keep, be very aware of our growing budget. And I'm not saying scrimp, but I'm saying be as effective as possible, because maybe the dispatch person becomes a fireman or takes on a different role in our emergency services. So, you know, it's just two more able hands that could be repurposed.
I think, you know, like I said, on the surface, I think a regional dispatch center makes a lot of sense, but I'm just one cog in the works. So I think it's something that has to have discussions above my pay grade. I'm definitely willing to provide whatever assistance and knowledge that I have. I was on the board of directors of Lakes Region Mutual Aid, so I think I have some value and could help with that.
Okay. Now, in the call volume is up. Is there any particular areas in town that you could direct us towards, or
Well,
is it just are we just an aging community and requiring more services?
The answer is yes.
To all of the above.
Obviously, as the gentleman from the senior center said, we are an aging community. And with aging becomes more use and more reliance on medical services. The younger generation has a different interpretation of what requires an ambulance. You probably know when you were a kid, you had to be dying to call an ambulance. And now they call an ambulance for things that we would consider pretty minor. So there's that factor. We've expanded. We have Market Street. We have Sunrise Senior Living. We have several seniors communities. We have apartment buildings. We have all the businesses along Route 1. And those services all combined are causing the increase in demand for services. I don't want you to think Market Street was what did it. I think Market Street was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. We're down there about once a day for one call or another. And that in itself, we could have absorbed that capacity. But that in conjunction with everything else, it's making it very difficult.
Well, one a day for such a big, just looking at Market Street alone, that's a huge development into itself. So one call is really minimal for that size.
And that's why I say it's a straw that kind of broke the camel's back, in my opinion.
So is there anything else? I guess I'm asking you to rethink what you've presented and see if there's any other ways that we could accomplish this goal and fully service the community up to your expectations. You're the expert. We hired you to do this. So I think your input is critical to this. So obviously we want to make sure that we're getting extreme value for our dollar. However, there's a point where there is no return, and you need to tell us where that point is. I think it's incumbent upon you to present as best as possible. I think you presented a good case, but I think that the call volume and the use of our staffing, I think there may be some other possibilities there that I hope that you would consider exploring.
Chief.
And we did talk about outsourcing months ago, if not a year ago, and that was a real concern with you. We lost control. We would lose control of an outside department handling that, right?
Well, like I said, I think when your fire department does your fire and emergency services, they are members of your community, if not the community of Lynnfield, the community at large, where a private contractor may not have that vested interest.
Okay.
And we've kind of experimented with the privatized EMS, and from what I understand, that didn't work very well. So I guess why would we try it again? Are we sure it didn't work well?
Well, at this point, what is the profitability of our EMS right now?
Right now we're looking into options with billing. I think we've had some revenue problems with the ambulance, but I think for the most part, our ambulance service is self-sufficient. We generate about $600,000 a year in ambulance billing. So that's a substantial portion of the fire department budget.
No, not to jump ahead. I know we're not an EMS, but the budget that you have here is $654,000. So we're operating at a loss.
No, that 654,000 will be based on anticipated revenues.
And what do you anticipate?
Well, we originally, we try not to budget more than we're taking in.
So it's a break even?
No. We also try to have some retained earnings that buys us ambulances and defibrillators and equipment. So, a few years ago, under Chief Bogart, we had a really good year with ambulance billing. So we put a lot of things under that enterprise account. And I think maybe we took a little bit too big a bite out of the apple. But hopefully working with Julie, the finance person, and Jim, we can figure out why our revenue seems to be down. And I think it's a billing problem as opposed to a revenue stream problem.
If you can just really roll up your sleeves, we'd all really appreciate it.
The other thing we could talk about is grant funding. There is some grant funding out there for staffing, but this board would have to vote on a resolution that if awarded, they would accept the grant. Because what's happening is some of the cities will say, oh yeah, apply for the grant. The fire chief or the administration of the fire department writes the grant, they're awarded the grant, and then they say, oh, never mind. There's nothing worse.
Is that a one-time grant or a grant
It's
forever?
It's a 2-year grant.
Okay.
It's a 2-year grant, and then the town has to agree to retain the personnel that you hire for a period beyond the grant. I think it's 3 years, 1 year. So you get it for 2 years, and then the town's on the hook for the 3rd year.
Thank you.
And that may change with the new administration. I know that's a ways away, but originally that grant was a 5-year plan, and the town's portion of the town's contribution went up every year. So you didn't pay the full boat until the 5th year of the grant, but that's been changed with the current administration in Washington through rule, not through legislation.
So Chief, what you brought here tonight is, in your opinion, what is the best way to do it? I mean, I don't think you just threw something together and brought it to the
Right,
table.
I mean, we've been talking about this.
You've talked to your staff, you talked to your department, you've looked at different options?
I have, and you know, I've worked for a few fire departments, seen, you know, how bigger fire departments work, such as Londonderry. I've seen how smaller departments like Barnstead works. Like I said, when you start eating into the family time or the sleep time on that pie chart, that's when your call company gets in trouble.
Right. So, as opposed to a big jump and implementing, is there something, if you took it in increments, is there something you'd look for first?
I would look at getting the 2 full-time positions first.
Okay. I don't know, Jim, did you have any input to any of this?
Well, I don't want to keep the board here all night, but as you're discussing this, you're realizing there are about 1,000 different parameters of how this is going to work. Not the least of which is all this would have to be collectively bargained with our fire union. So to try to get this in place for July 1st would be a pretty big hurdle. Not only that, but as the board's discussed, this is a sea change in the way that Lynnfield does business. The reason I say Norwell, every time someone comes in lately, there seems to be a comparison to Norwell. And when I was watching, I couldn't sleep Thursday night. I turned on the Norwell advisory board, and the advisory board was yelling at the fire chief that we spend a whole lot more than Lynnfield on our fire department. So
I'm glad you had the Freudian slip before I did. So.
Yeah. So, you know, I talked to the chief about this. I spent some time with him. I think we do need to do something with the department. I don't think it's something we can jump into for the FY16 budget. This is something that's got to be planned out. And you know, I say come up with the policy first, and then how you're going to get there, as opposed to coming in and saying, this is where I want to go, and I'm going to go there right now. So there's a whole lot of hurdles we got to jump through. I definitely agree with the chief that we need to do something to upgrade and augment our department. I just think it's going to take a little more time than having it in place for July 1st.
Well, at this point, it will take more time to get all this done, but the benefit is you brought it to the table. So don't let that stop. Keep that going.
Just, we ran into the same thing in Norwell. 16 years ago, Norwell was almost in the same position that Lynnfield was. We had people working during the day. We had one guy on at night, and we had a call guy on at night, and we actually had civilians manning our ambulance. And over time, the call guys, because Noel went from it was a farming community to a bedroom community, the call firefighters dried up. So over a period of time, we converted from a daytime department to a full 24-hour shift with paramedics. And we made that combination shift. Every firefighter we hired was a paramedic. So we upgraded our services as we increased the department, but we had a plan and we did it over time. We didn't have to go up to $240,000, which is roughly what this plan would be in one fiscal year, to try to take that all in one bite. I've had long conversations with the chief about this. We're going to continue to talk. I think it's going to take more conversations with this board and with the community to see where we want to go and then map out how we're going to get there.
Yeah, you have a capital here.
I do. Okay, as far as capital, the big nut that we brought up last year was a fire truck. And I want to make you aware of why we're asking for that. The 2009 consultants report said this community needs to be replacing one fire truck every 5 years to keep the fleet in operational condition, which meant we should have bought a fire truck in 2010. We didn't. And then we should have brought a fire truck in 2015, and we didn't. Well, here we are in 2016, and if we put it off again, you know, we have two of our pumpers are over 30 years old. And they're one major repair away from being scrap metal. And to me, that occurs when the repair is more than the truck is worth. We pared down our fleet under Chief Bogart from 5 engines to 4 engines. We got rid of some equipment. So we're pretty lean as far as our equipment goes. If you choose not to fund the fire truck, I may be coming back to you at the midterm and saying, we've had a catastrophic failure. What would you like us to do?
Chief, is there a lot of maintenance issues with the truck?
There are.
And are they passing their certifications and all this kind of stuff, or they're?
Engine 3 will need a pump rebuild in the not too distant future. And to say exactly when that is, I don't know. But that's one of those major repairs that the truck is worth less than the cost of the repair. I'm having our maintenance contractor do a capital assessment of the vehicle, so we can tell you what's wrong with it, what's going to need to be fixed in the very near future, and what maybe can last a little longer. So that he actually did that today. I just haven't got the written report on it.
Are there some available grants for that, Chief?
Yes and no. Yes, there are grants. They're probably not eligible. I applied for a Assistance of Firefighters grant. I'm actually pretty good at it. I got 2 fire trucks while I was in Barnstead. So the problem being is that we do have a 2005 pumper at each station, and I am unable to get past the computer in preliminary scoring. So no one even reads the narrative that I wrote as to why we need the grant. So at this point, there are grant programs, and I'll definitely continue to apply for them, because if you don't ask, the answer is no. But right now, it doesn't look as though those grants will be available to us.
Another thing we have is the existing debt on the current truck that we have now will be rolling off of the tax bird next year,
Mhm.
it might be a better year to look at it, when that's coming off. Do you have any doubt that pumper could last a year, or is that questionable?
It would be a roll of the dice. It
Yeah.
may. Like I said, we continue to maintain them in top running condition as much as we can. It's just with a 30-year-old truck, you never know. So, could it last a year? Absolutely. Might I be back here halfway through the year saying it failed, what do you wanna do? Possibly. So, I know, the town administrator and I had talked about that. It doesn't seem as though that truck's gonna fit into the capital budget this year, but I definitely wanted to make you aware that this is the issues we're up against.
Well, didn't you mention to speed up the turnaround time on the other end also, you might wanna take either a demo or a stock truck?
Yes.
That would serve our needs well?
Yes, and there's definitely some savings associated with that as well.
Yeah. And what's the turnaround on getting something like that in place?
It really depends on the manufacturer, if they have it sitting on their lot, or if it's just coming out of production. What does it have what does it not have that we need? For example, we need foam. As you saw, it was very useful over in Wakefield with the interstate and all the trucking that goes through here. It's really kind of a basic requirement. We have foam capabilities. Not a lot of stock trucks that are built with that, so we'd have to have some modifications done. Definitely, it's a lot quicker. Usually, if you order a fire truck, you're about a year out before you get it.
Right.
With a stock truck or a demo, it's a matter of months. So it is much quicker.
Thank
you. Some of the other things we're looking for is just annual hose replacement, protective equipment. These are things that just wear out. The National Fire Protection Association has established a service life for this equipment. So years past, when we had hose, as long as it's past its service test, it was good. Well, now the NFPA has said if it's over a certain age, you have to take it out of service. So even if it passes the service test, it has to go. And that's what we're being faced with now, and that's why that line is bumped up a little bit more than it usually is. It's kind of the same thing with personal protective equipment, coat, helmets, boots, gloves. The NFPA has established a service life of 10 years. So you spend $2,500 on an ensemble, and in 10 years, it's use it to snow blow your driveway, because it's no good for firefighting anymore. Along with that, I asked for a washer extractor, and that's basically a heavy-duty washing machine that takes all the smoke and carcinogens out of the protective clothing and thoroughly washes it out. So when you put your fire coat on, you're not exposing your skin to those carcinogens all the time.
So what are you doing now?
We're using a residential grade washing machine, which doesn't have the horsepower to spin and to really extract the materials as well as a commercial machine. And we can do about one set of clothing at a time.
Because I know this was brought up, the washer extractor was brought up some time ago, several times, but we've never gotten one.
To the best of my knowledge, no. We have, like I said, we have the residential grade, and if you can imagine putting 40 pounds of turnout gear in a residential washer, it doesn't work very well.
Are there requirements that you have to have one?
I think the NFPA says that your protective clothing has to be clean, thoroughly clean. So it doesn't say you have to have an extractor, but in our circumstance, we would either have to have an extractor, use an extractor, or send the clothing out to have it washed, to have it thoroughly clean. So that answers your question. Last year we had asked for 2 sets of extrication tools to replace 2 of our sets that were getting older. And through negotiating, and we were able to find some tools that met our needs that are electrically powered as opposed to gasoline powered, so there's some savings there. We were able to finish most of that project. So that this year we're asking for $10,000 to just finish that project, and what that $10,000 for is a set of rams, which is basically a fancy bottle jack, so that we can spread vehicles apart. That was the only thing we were short in getting both sets of extrication tools last year. Radios, pagers, IT equipment, just to replace things that break down. We have tablet PCs, we have computers, we have status boards, we have radios in the trucks that all have a service life and break down. So that $5,000 is to maintain those things as they break down, not to buy anything new, but to maintain.
And how old is the stuff that you have?
Again, it varies. You know, this computer has a Intel Core i3, which is fairly old technology. It still works fairly well, but probably not worth fixing if it were to break down. So we're in a disposable society. But we have things of varying ages, and that's because our people work very hard to, you know, get the most they can out of a piece of equipment, and then when it breaks, we replace it, as opposed to, oh, we just need new computers, so we'll get all new computers. We get every penny we can out of them.
All right.
Our portable radios are pretty old. They're about 15 years old. And that's the lifeline of a firefighter, is his portable radio when he's in a building. And they're at the point where the company that builds them has planned obsolescence, and they don't support them anymore. So if they break, we have to send them to an outside vendor and hope that they are able to fix them. And if they can't, then it's junk. We can't get it fixed. So it's probably time that we start looking at replacing those portable radios. We do have about 5 or 6 newer ones, and those are around the age of some of the other radios that some of the departments are already getting rid of, because Motorola doesn't support them anymore either.
So we're looking at 30,000 a year for 4 years, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Roughly?
Yeah. And then, like I said, last year we had asked for 2 staff vehicles. In the middle of the year, we had one of our staff vehicles' transmission dropped out of it. We were able to get a new to us vehicle for about $10,000 and saved us a few bucks there. So, like I said, I'm not of the theory to put throwaways in the capital reserve or capital budget. You know, it just makes it a lot of work for everybody, and for you to figure out what I really didn't need that I'm putting there as a throwaway. So my theory is to come to you with what I need, and hopefully you'll look at it more favorably than having to weed through a bunch of garbage.
Thanks, Chief.
You have an awful lot of notes of what's coming down the pike.
Mm-hmm.
Looks a little scary.
Well, there's only a couple paragraphs on future considerations.
Well, that first paragraph of 800 to $1 million, that's enough to choke you.
That is.
Slow you right down.
And I know Captain Feinberg had put together a grant to do this 2 years ago, and those programs generally not being grant funded anymore. So that's something that we should probably look at down the road as far as upgrading our radio communications, and we'll definitely continue to seek out alternative funding sources for that. Maybe grab a piece of it at a time, or you know, when we're doing a project running fiber optic, for example, well, maybe we'll run that to the repeater sites and, you know, bite off a little bit at a time. So
would that also include the dispatch for the police department?
It's part of it. I think Chief Breeny and I would have to really work on the numbers for that. But for example, if we run fiber that we're asking for in the emergency management capital line, that would accommodate fire, police, and emergency management. So there is some overlap there.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else on fire? Are you gonna discuss the emergency services, medical services budget also?
Well, I consider it one budget, but
Cause you have capital on that one also, right?
Mm-hmm.
oh, emergency management.
Management, yes.
Again, this is part of that radio communications, and what we're looking for this year is to run fiber to those 6 repeater sites. And because it's overlapping, we have fire, police, perhaps DPW if they wanted to jump on board. We thought the best place to put that would be in the emergency management line. I know we were gonna continue to seek alternative funding sources. And I'm trying to remember, we had a discussion about that. I'm not exactly clear on what our resolution was.
Yeah, there's grant money available through the E911 Commission, the State 911 Commission. We just received over $200,000 for the regional dispatch on the South Shore to run fiber between all 4 towns. So my recommendation for the chiefs, both chiefs, were before you come in and ask for the town for money, let's see if we can get the state to pay for it. They have been funding those. Those grants are going to start drying up if they don't increase the surcharge, because the state is requiring we go to what's called the Next Gen 911, which will do text messages and everything, but they haven't increased the surcharge, so they don't have the money to pay for it. So it's going to have to come out of the current grant, so they're working on that. But that's something to work on through the grant process. And I think if we're going to fund the fiber ourselves, we need to bring the school department into that conversation, because if you're going to put the fiber up, it's going to run past all their buildings also, and make sure that there's enough capacity that we could run a LAN or something like that and use the entire fiber network and get rid of a lot of the phone lines and things we have. So, but I think the first place we go is we hit up the 911 Commission for a grant and try to get one of those.
Is the current system failing, or is it having issues?
I think some of our equipment is aging. We just had to had some significant work done to one of the repeater sites, and it's aging. So I think we have to keep it on the radar so that it doesn't come as a surprise when we say we got to spend some money on our radio system. You know, I put in there what I thought the total cost of upgrade would be. Definitely, if we can get grants or bite off a chunk at a time, I think that's probably the way to go.
Could you just explain what a repeater site is?
Well, when I click the radio, my radio is not really that powerful. All that is it gets a signal to the repeater, and that turns up the signal and retransmit it out again. And what we have is what's called a voter system. And when I click my radio, all 6 sites say who has the strongest signal, and that's the site that grabs it and retransmits it.
Okay. Thank you.
That's about the limit of my knowledge on the radio transmitter. So.
It's like a cell phone. It goes to the closest tower. Okay. Thanks, Chief. Anything else?
Thank you.
All right.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you. Good job.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
A lot of work.
Chief Breen. How are you?
Good evening. I have an unpowered presentation. Before I start, I know I communicated by email to all of the selectmen, but Thursday night at Charlie Peavy retirement party, we had an officer who was eating roast beef, and he swallowed the roast beef down the wrong pipe, and he immediately ran towards the men's room, and a detective from Marblehead just happened to see what was going on, removed his body armor, and performed the Heimlich and dislodged the obstruction. So I just wanted to mention tonight, because I'd like perhaps for the Board of Selectmen to issue a commendation to Detective Brendan Finnegan of the Marblehead Police Department. I've already spoken to his chief. We don't have to do it at a board meeting unless you feel a need to. Perhaps on an afternoon, we could just invite him down and do something for him. So the officer's doing fine. In fact, he stayed on for the rest of his shift. But needless to say, it was a scary moment for him and his wife, who was also present. In presenting the budget, my budget has an overall increase of 9.1%. And the primary increase is the increase in staffing levels from 13 officers to 15, and also from 4 sergeants to 5. So as you look at the budget comparison report, you'll see that the police chief's salary is 2%. The real outliers are the ones that I'll talk about, and if you have any questions, certainly I'll answer them for you. The patrolman's salary is an 11.3% increase, and that is the increase in the 2 officers. The salary, the line item for that is approximately $48,000 for each officer. That was the largest increase there. The second page, we had training overtime is a major increase of where we were. What was happening is, and it's already occurred in this fiscal year, is we exhausted our training overtime account. We have officers who need to have 40 hours of in-service training every year. Over the past few years, the state did not fund the in-service training portion, so they did not offer it. So we were performing some of that training in the station. Some of it just was not occurring. So now they have funded the Northeast Regional Police Institute in Reading, where we go, and that requires each officer 40 hours per year. In addition, we have 3 types of training. There's mandatory training, there's specialized required training, and there's specialized training. Along with the 40 hours for each officer is an EMT training. All of our officers are EMTs. It's 40 hours every other year, so I made it 20 hours per year. We have training which is mandatory for our pistols, our rifles, and the shotguns. That's a 24-hour class that we perform up at Manchester by the Sea in an outdoor range that we belong to. And in addition, we have taser training, which is 8 hours, and suicide prevention. Those are all mandatory. It's 100 hours per officer times 20. The specialized training we have an officer who belongs to the NEMLEC SWAT team, and we have Sergeant Secretary, who is here with me today, who is our regional response team member. The school resource officer, when we do finally fill that position, and I'll mention that a little bit more in detail later, is a 40-hour class. The armorer is a 16-hour class. The criminal investigator is 60. There's another 468 hours on top of the 2,000 that I just mentioned. And then if we decide to have a bicycle officer, the motorcycle, that's 24 hours. The motorcycle training is 40. Truck enforcement is 16. I know we've had the discussion perhaps sending somebody to truck enforcement class. And supervisors professional development, which we currently do not do, and I'm strongly in favor of having our supervisors go to training each year to hone their skills. So the training budget request is high because of the amount of time that the officers are required to go to training. That was underfunded for many years, and when we exhausted that line item, they would just draw from the overtime account. The two are pretty much the same thing, really. Any type of training will be on overtime unless the officer is working the day shift and his shift does not have to be filled. But we're at minimum manning at all times, so when an officer goes to the training and elects to not work his shift, we have to fill that on overtime. So either way, you either pay the officer going to the training or the officer working for him if he decides not to work his shift in addition to the training for that particular day. So that increase request was, we were at about 49,000 in 2015, and the request is 124,248 based on the hours that I just mentioned. Training expenses is up 21.9%. We were at 13,683. We're requesting 16,683. We have the new officers who are starting. They will have to be trained on our firearm systems, defensive tactics, and software, as well as training 2 new officers in this as well. And that was an increase in that line item of 21.9%. Let's see, in addition, we have a 33% increase in our request for tires. The tires that we used to purchase were for the Ford sedans, and now we're going to the SUVs, which the tire wear is much quicker. The tires are also more expensive. So that was an increase from $3,000 to $4,000. Subscription and law books, we have 750 in FY 2015, and we're asking for 1,000. We replace the criminal law and motor vehicle law training manuals for the officers every year. They're updated because laws change, and so we're purchasing those each year. And then uniform accessories. This increase was from $7,080 to $10,000. That is, again, because we'll have several new officers here between transfers and hiring off the eligibility list, and they'll require everything from uniforms to leather goods, belts, radios, ammunition, which is a major expense that's gone up significantly in the past few years. So that's those are the big increases. I also increased equipment, which is based again on the other one. The other one was uniform accessories, and this is equipment. So all told, the operating budget increase was 9.1%. Do you have any questions? I can jump right into my capital if you'd like. I know I have some people back here who would like it if I did.
No, I don't. I just want to know about the two people that are the two new hires.
Well, I just got word today from one of the transfers who is coming from Winthrop, and he accepted the position, so we're going to move forward with that. I also have another officer that we will be interviewing on Wednesday, myself, Captain Johnson, and the town administrator, Jim Boudreau. So we'll see how he interviews. We had another person interviewed for the job that he is a candidate, but I wanted to see this third person as well. He's a graduate of the Massachusetts School of Law. He currently works for Winthrop. I'm going to have to beg, borrow, and steal with the chief of Winthrop because they don't have a large department, and losing two officers could significantly impact their budget. So if he's willing to let the second person go, we might consider hiring two people from Winthrop.
So we had two that we're filling, they're already allocated for, right?
Yes, one position is Officer Peabody's,
Right.
who has retired, and the other position will be for the promotion of a patrolman to the sergeant's position will create the second vacancy.
Right. So the two new ones?
The two people off the eligibility list will be the new positions that we agreed to, from 13 officers to 15. That quest has been hampered a little bit. We had 8 people come down off the eligibility list. Only 3 people signed up that they would accept the position. We gave information packets for them to fill out. One of them did not return it still, so he's not going to be considered. And then, so the other 2 we'll take a look at. But between the budget and the transfers, that's where I...
And where does the SRO come into play?
The SRO will be when we hire the 2 off the eligibility list. Probably will be towards the end of this year. It'll definitely be in the next school year.
So what is it, I mean, is it SRO compliance traffic officer, or how's that going to be?
Yes, but right now we have Officer Barnes who's performing that duty. He'll continue in that.
Right.
Obviously, that's not ideal. He's the K-9 officer. He's also the only person we have that's trained on the motorcycle. So we want to get somebody else who's skilled in that position. One of the officers, one of the transfers from Winthrop, does have some training as a school resource officer. And when we interviewed him, he mentioned that he would be interested, perhaps, in doing that. So maybe we can have him fill that position until somebody comes out of the academy. Or maybe he'll like that position and choose to stay there.
What are you going to do with the new people if you're down to 2? 2 people for 2 positions, is that correct?
That's correct.
Are you going to expand the scope of that?
I think we might have to go back on the list and see what other candidates we have there to choose from. 2 is very short list for hiring 2 people.
2, yeah.
So,
How many do you normally interview for 2 positions?
well,
5,
it's,
6?
it's 2N plus 1, but
So
that's
5.
that's the list.
Right.
That doesn't mean all of those people on the list will accept a position. That's why we went from 8 to 3. 2N is 2 times the number of people you're hiring plus 1 and ties. So it came down to 8 people. It would have been 5 because we were only hiring 2, but some people were tied. So they came down, it was 8 people. Some of those were the 402As, which are people whose parents, or mother or father, that died in the line of duty. Then the 402Bs are people whose parents were disabled in the line of duty. And then the person that was on the top of the list was a reemployment. He was laid off from another town. None of those people signed that they would be willing to accept a position here in Lynnfield. Some of them lived as far away as Brockton. They prefer to get hired someplace closer to their home, if not in their hometown.
So are there enough of people still on the remaining part of the list for you to bring in?
We'd have to request another list from civil service to do that, which is a definite possibility.
But do you have a list now? Is there anybody else on that list?
We have 2 people that have submitted their application packets.
So that's everybody on the current list? We're down to
We're down to 2 out of the 8. That's it. And we haven't interviewed them, so we don't know. We haven't done background checks. All we have is their credit history, the information packets that I have them fill out.
I think, Tom, your question is, are there more people on our list?
Right.
Yes. Do we have them? No, we only got the 8 because we had 2 vacancies.
So can we go beyond
So we will
the
have
8?
to, we would have to ask civil service to send us additional names at this point if we want to go that route. So there are still people on the list.
The list that we have right now, let's say it's comprised of 20 names. We only went down 8. There's another 12 names.
That's all we get. Civil
we only
service,
get 8.
you
Okay.
request civil service sends you, here are the people based on your number of 2N plus 1, you get 8 people.
Got it.
Now, if we can't find someone from those 8, we go back to civil service and said, please send us additional, they'll send us the next band
Right.
down. So they're still on the list, but they're not part of the hiring process at this point.
It's not easy.
What are you
going
to ask for now? 10?
Well, I mean, I think we'll take a look at the 2 we have, but I'm certainly willing to sit down and discuss it with Jim.
Okay.
Chief. I think your budget certainly makes sense. There's nothing here that's unusual, nothing we didn't expect. It's all attributed to the 2 new officers, the promotions and the training.
Training.
So there's, I really don't have any questions on it whatsoever. It's very straightforward.
I don't have any questions on the operating budget.
I think we can move over to capital.
Well, it seems to me that the biggest part of the increase is what the people wanted, which is more police. So we're paying for what the citizens want, which is more staffing, and we're happy for that, and hopefully we'll tie that into a need for the school as well and get a double bang for our buck there.
I think so. I think it.
Which that exciting news is coming, right?
Yes. Well, you want to talk about the SRO? Is that what you want to talk about?
No,
or-
you just proceed however.
Did you have more to talk about the SRO?
Well, I just
So
I
please, I wanna hear
scheduled
about
my presentation so that I would be here along with the superintendent of schools. So we planned on, if there were any questions, I could defer to her if she would like, because she has some specific incidents that have occurred that would certainly warrant having a school resource officer. So I didn't know if anybody had any questions. You can also ask her when she does her presentation. I know that she's
Right.
spoken about this in the past,
Right.
and we're on the same page. We both feel as though there's a need there. Again, Massachusetts is now mandated that we have a school resource officer. It doesn't say how many hours a week you have to have one, but we certainly have the need. We have the need to have an officer over in juvenile court, which will be done by the person who's in the schools, who's familiar with the people and the parents, so that it's kind of a seamless transition. You're not passing it off to somebody else who's unfamiliar with what occurred. So I know we're both excited about having somebody in that position. And
So the SRO may not be filled almost for another year, maybe?
well, if we'll have somebody in that role no matter what.
But
to have
Officer
somebody
Barnes,
permanently
maybe?
in that, if it's going to be somebody off the eligibility list, that's almost a 1 year
Right.
between the time you start the academy which is 6 months, a 3-month training program, plus the 2 to 3 months it takes to get them into an academy. It's almost 1 year.
Is that really what you want as a new police officer in that role?
Well, it depends. I mean, you really have to take a look. I'm a big advocate of round pegs and round holes. Sometimes you'll have a newer person who comes in the job who perhaps has children or worked in a field, like the officer that's transferring did some work with some juveniles in one of the state departments. I forget what it was offhand. So he may be a good fit, but that's something that we'll have to take a look at. You know, I don't want to force somebody into that position, but you know, ultimately, I'd like to have somebody who has some knowledge and certainly the desire to work with not only the children, but administrators and teachers alike.
Well, the SRO, in my opinion, is just about a full-time job with the schools.
Well, a lot of people have that share that sentiment. You know, we're certainly going to be committed for this first year with what was given to us, and that's to have somebody spend some time equally out on the streets to enforce the traffic, which certainly there's a lot of people in town who feel that that is something they want to see. I just spoke with some of the people from the Walnut Street group, I forget their name, but Joe DeMena, and he's expressed certainly having interest in having an officer devoted to that task.
And we already have officers out there that do that type of thing, right?
We certainly do. We've increased our traffic enforcement by
Yes, you have.
more than 50% over the past few years, like closer to 70% actually, going back 3 or 4 years ago. So
But
the
it
officers
was-
who are just performing the task of as patrol officers are spending the time, and they'll continue to do that when we have somebody enforcing the traffic as a hybrid position, SRO traffic officer. That's not going to stop. So I think we'll just use the person, especially during the summertime or during school vacation weeks, to focus on areas where we have the most complaints. It's certainly where we have the most accidents, because ultimately that's what traffic enforcement is supposed to do, lower the incidence of traffic accidents.
Well, you know, but it was people like Joe DeMena that that supported you bringing on additional police staff, and with the specific function of looking at the different issues going on around town and increase in enforcement. So we have 2 issues here. We got to make sure we don't lose sight that there are 2 issues that we need to continue to address.
I think Joe has been a great supporter. Wally McKenzie has also been somebody that I've spoken with, and they just happen to be neighbors of mine, so I kind of get trapped as I'm driving out. But no, they're great guys, and you know, I share some of their concerns. I certainly understand that. I've been down on Market Street. I wrote the security plan for that, which expressed my concerns with the traffic down there. And we're only 60% approximately built out, so we'll see more traffic, certainly. But generally, traffic in that area isn't too bad. It's not great lately because of the snowbanks. And I also want to say that I thought that Andrew Lafferty and his group at the DPW, with all things considered, I thought they did a very good job. We had some issues. Certainly, Market Street was one of them because snowbanks, MassDOT didn't clear over far enough. So people taking left-hand turns onto 128 were blocking the straight-through traffic, which backed up traffic on Walnut Street all the way back to Thomas Road a couple of times. We got them down there. They cleared that out. It seems to have alleviated the problems. But it's not just problems here. When those traffic backups happened, they were everywhere. I mean, it took me 1 hour to drive to Peabody District Court to bring paperwork over there. That's a 15, 20-minute drive max. So Andrew's been very good. When I call him and ask him for something, he's right there. They've had a difficult task, but we will not lose sight of either one of those positions. We'll definitely have the person focused on each.
Great.
And as far as traffic goes, you know as well that there's other areas in town that have a lot of traffic issues.
Yes, we've had complaints. Main Street obviously is an issue when school's in session because the kids are crossing, and that's been a problem for as long as I've been here. The only real solution to that is a redesign of that roadway, which is going to be quite a capital budget issue. But We have complaints on Salem Street. You know, one of the byproducts of a successful enforcement effort on a particular road is people from the other streets see that, and they also want the same protection. So we've had some people from Salem Street, Summer Street, who read it in the paper or talk to some of the people that are part of these groups, and they have called and they want the same thing for them, and they have every right to that. So we need to focus not just on one particular area, but wherever wherever we have a lot of complaints, and again, wherever we have accidents.
Okay, well, thank you, Chief. You want to do the
Sure.
capital?
My capital, we are going to do a 2-year transition over on our radios. We're going to purchase, with the funding, we will purchase 11 VHF, UHF radios, chargers, and batteries. We will have a need for about 22, so we will do 11 this year, and then we'll request again next year. So it'll be a 2-year phase. About $2,500 for the radios, the chargers, and the batteries and accessories. We currently have model 2500, which is discontinued. Then we have 4 tasers in service. Those are the X26. We're looking to upgrade those to the X2. We also have some of the other officers, some of the younger officers who are coming on that want to carry the taser. This is just going to be replacing 4 that we have, which, again, that's the X26, which is discontinued. It's been in service for, I'm not sure how many years, Nick, on the X26. Over 6. Patrol rifles, this will be the final year. This is the 3rd year we have, which is updating all of our patrol rifles. It's 2 at $2,000 a piece for a $4,000 total. The computers, we currently have to replace the computers that have XP because the CGIS was not compatible with that, so we're looking to go to Windows 7. And that's for information from the registry and from other agencies. Those are the in-house computers, 3 at $1,200 a piece. The Panasonic Toughbook, those are the computers that are in the laptops that are in the cruiser.
Mm-hmm.
Cruiser mounted, CF31. We have one currently that's been in service for quite some time. It is now out of service, it's no longer working, and it's not repairable. And then we have another cruiser that we want to put one in. So 2 at $3,000. The audio-video recorder, this is for our detective. We had an interview that we had to perform on a suspect, and we wanted to record it. The person that was being interviewed did not object, so Sergeant Secretary, had to drive him over to North Reading to use their equipment. So that's certainly something that it's a priority. The video camera is for the camera that's mounted in the back of the DPW garage. That camera is currently out of service. The major cost here, I know some people are concerned that $2,500 video cameras are really cheap, but the problem is the installation. The cable that was up there it has to be restrung, relashed. The camera has to be replaced. The majority of that money is in labor. And we have an estimate for that. And that's just for one camera at $2,500. And then the key scan system, which is a security measure. This will allow us to, when we go into the cells, for an officer to use his key fob to hit the system, and it will photograph the officer there, the prisoner, the time, so that if anybody makes any accusations or if anybody attempts a suicide, which we had one last year, unfortunately it wasn't successful, the officer was right there, we can go back to the cameras and show that we're checking it every 15, 20 minutes, and that's 1 at $3,500. Again, the majority of that is in the labor. Everything has to be run through these concrete walls, and then the major portion is the cruises. 2 new cruises with electronics. We're looking at the Fords at $38,760 a piece. we have typically get one new cruiser one year and then two the next. The last 3 years, we've only had one cruiser. We used to have two cruisers that were backups. They were detail cruisers. If anybody on a detail was working in a real bad intersection, they used them. But they were also a backup for if our mainline cruisers was getting serviced. We no longer have either one of those. Those cruisers they were old. I traded them in. The cost of the repair was significantly higher than the vehicle was worth. So we opted to trade those in. So it's been several years since we've had two new cruisers, and we are in. I've got all the mileage and everything I could show you, but we're in need of two. And that's my capital budget.
Chief, the cruisers that you're talking about, are you talking about moving up to the truck?
The Ford SUVs, they're like a Taurus or we already have one in service. They're all-wheel drive. They're better than they don't make the Crown Vics anymore. So we're looking at those. We looked at the Chevrolets, the Chevrolet four-wheel drive Supervisors, that cruiser was $6,000 more than the Fords. So after a discussion with Jim, he suggested the $38,000 cost, and the officers like them. Especially the bigger offices, it's easy to get in and out of. There's a little more room than the Fords, the smaller, the Crown Vics. And certainly than the smaller Dodges that are out there, which I've heard a lot of complaints about.
You mean bigger offices because of all the protective gear they wear?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Chief, are you able to take a lot of the equipment out of the existing cruisers and transfer it over, or is it?
Well, that's part of the increase in some of our costs for equipment is because the equipment that were in the Ford Crown Vics will not fit in the SUVs.
Right.
So like the cage, we have a brand new cage. Sometimes you can buy half cages.
Mm-hmm.
But before we used to gut the old cruiser, we'd take it up to Adamson Industries and they would gut the old cruiser out of electronics and the cage and just transfer it to the new car. We can't do that with these.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any other questions, Chief.
Did a nice job laying that out.
I think you did a good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one last note. You think maybe you could speak with Chief Chitrault about a regional call center?
Well, I thought you might bring that up. We have spoken several times, and we have divergent opinions on that.
Okay.
In my opinion, it is not a cost-saving measure, and Bill Gustus and I discussed this several times at length. And I've had a discussion with Jim Boudreau, who certainly has some experience with the rec down in Norwell. But it's not only is it not a cost-saving measure, in my opinion, but you lose a lot of control. And they've had a lot of issues over at the Regional Communications Center in Middleton. Speaking from other chiefs, they've had towns opt out who originally opted in. And I'm not an advocate of the rec.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief, thanks, Chief. Appreciate it. We gotta take our customary 45-minute break now?
Next is schools.
Obviously, you guys
Thank you
saved
for
the
being
best
here.
for last. I'd like to thank you for once again inviting us to the Board of Selectmen to present our budget. On behalf of the school committee of Lynnfield Public Schools, we're once again proud to present a budget that has a per-pupil expenditure that is well below state average and well below districts with similar demographics. I'm proud to say this is a fiscally responsible budget that maximizes our resources and helps us meet our goal of supporting and challenging all students to meet their full potential as individual and as citizens of the global community. We know none of our success would be possible without the generous support of our community. So we would like to thank Lynnfield for their continued support, and I hope you enjoy the presentation that we put together with Superintendent Tremblay. Jane, you ready? Jane, shouldn't you be using a Chromebook?
I am using a Chromebook today.
Excellent.
All right.
Thank you so much for having us tonight. I just want to recognize some members of the school department that are here tonight. You just heard from our chairman, Chris Barrett. Jamie Heyman serves on the school board. He is here. Dorothy Presser is with us, and Sal Camerata. And we also have Tom Gary, the Director of Finance, and Kara Mara, who is the Director of Special Services. So I put together a PowerPoint for you tonight because I thought it would be easier for you to see and hear all of the things that are important to us in the schools. And as I start out, I'm going to show you the first two slides, and these two first documents. What you need to know about these are that they really guide everything that we do in the schools. Okay, so our mission for the Lynnfield Public Schools is to support and challenge all students to meet their full potential as individuals and citizens of the global community. The second slide that I'm going to show you are the overarching goals that the school committee has voted on as of October 10th of this past school year. And what these goals do is they literally drive everything that we do in the school system. So every purchase that we make, every resource that we have, every decision that we make, we tie it back to these overarching goals. And as I go through our priorities for the school system, I will tie these back for you. I don't expect you to remember all of them as I go through the presentation. So the first one is to integrate technology effectively to enhance teaching and learning for all students. The second is to ensure staff that they have instructional practices, training, and resources necessary to ensure continuous improvement in student achievement. Teach and assess the skills of critical thinking, collaboration, creativity, and communication to prepare all students for college and career readiness. And the last goal is to enhance the partnership with the entire community to enrich the education of our students and unite all citizens around the belief and that high-quality public education is our community's most valuable asset. So as I'm speaking tonight, please be thinking about these goals. So the first thing that I want to share with you is where we are with the average per pupil expenditure in comparison to some of our partners on the North Shore. And one of the things I think we are most proud of as a community and a school system is that we continually are well below the state average. So if you look at the graph that's up here, on the left-hand side, we start with Hamilton Wenham that is spending $15,000 per child. Swampscott is next, Andover next, Manchester, Essex, North Reading, Masconomet, and then it comes to Lynnfield, spending $12,615 per child. The state average is $14,021. And just to kind of keep that in perspective for you, what I need you to understand is that if we were to spend up to the state average in our school budget, we would be asking you for an additional $3 million. That's what the difference is. So that's a big difference. One of the reasons why we have been able to have such a top-rate school district and do such great things with that money is because of the way that we allocate resources. And also, I think it's important to mention at this point the support that we have from our parent-teacher organizations. So every single one of our schools have PTOs, and those PTOs are responsible for really helping and supporting in our schools when it comes to our enrichment programs, and they've also, over the years, really supported our technology initiatives. So I think it's important to mention that. So the next two slides are really going to talk about some accolades and achievements that we have had in the school district. This first slide tells us that the U.S. News and World Report has recognized Lynnfield School as a national gold standard school. They have ranked our high school within the top 500 districts in the nation. And so that's no small feat, especially when you think about the amount of money that we're spending on our per pupil expenditure. Our MCAS scores in the Lynnfield Middle School are consistently on the rise. I'm going to talk a lot about the middle school tonight. It is one of our priorities. We all know that our MCAS scores have not always kept up at the middle school in comparison to our elementary school and our high school. We're working on that, and we're beginning to see some nice progress in that area. Our elementary schools are consistently among the top-ranking districts for MCAS scores across the Commonwealth. The Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, the DESE, has recognized Summer Street School as a 2014 Massachusetts Commendation School. What that means is that that school has been recognized for closing the achievement gap and high achievement in general. They also are recognizing Summer Street Elementary School as a school that some of the other level 4 schools across the Commonwealth, so underperforming schools, their administrators are coming out to Summer Street School to work with the principal gender bias there to see what practices we have put into place that have been successful. So, and just quickly on this slide, I think it's important to mention that some of our faculty have also received some national recognition, and we do have representatives from a lot of our schools that serve on different state boards and serve on different state committees across the state. And one of the things that this does for us is that it gives us a voice in Lynnfield. If we have people sitting on state committees, it gives us a voice as to what's important to us with our education. And it also sets us up to know things early, things that unfunded mandates that are coming to us so that we can plan appropriately. So now, as I speak to the priorities, our priorities are based on maintaining the success that we have enjoyed as a school system, but it also is about the initiatives that are going to make our school system really rise to the next level. It's important for us to stay competitive with the excellent schools on the North Shore and also the excellent school districts that we have, and ultimately providing a top-rate education that successfully meets the needs of all of our learners and, again, prepares them for the college and career readiness. So when we speak about Lynnfield Middle School as one of our priorities, this is one area that we have focused on for the past few years. Lynnfield Middle School is currently a level 2 school, and we are working very hard to make it a level 1 school. Both of our elementary schools and our high school are both level 1 schools. And we have made some significant changes in the structures, such as the scheduling and the teaming, as well as changes to resource and assessment procedures. So the schedule changes alone that Mr. Ralston has made at the middle school are responsible for students receiving approximately 25 more hours of instructional time in math, English language arts, science, and social studies. And the changes really have resulted in improvements in teaching and learning. And I think that the increase of our MCAS scores are really evidence that supports this. We have smaller class sizes in grades 5 and 6, and we are beginning to see the results that we are committed to. We're working very hard to get that school to a level 1 school. That's why a lot of our attention has been focused on that school. We have teaming in grades 7 and 8. That's been a wonderful addition for not only our students but our teachers. The teachers are working in 2 groups of 4 to service the students. This has been able to afford them some common planning time, some common assessment time to really analyze that data that they're getting every 6 weeks from their assessment meetings. We know, if you have been watching the schools closely over the years, we know that the recipe of the data in the recipe of having data in assessment meetings at the elementary levels that have been ongoing on a regular basis, that's a great recipe. It works to improve student achievement. And so the middle school has worked hard to implement that into their schedule as well. Again, from our assessment meetings at the elementary schools, we have put in place some English language arts and some math tutors, and you're also going to see that as something that we're asking for in the budget for the middle school this year. These tutors have been instrumental in the success that the middle school is seeing right now. We have qualified teachers that are working on a part-time basis with our students in very small groups to reteach some of the content area that either they're not getting or they just need a little extra help in. And this is happening throughout the course of the middle school day. And we believe that this is one reason why we're seeing some of the successes at the middle school. The professional development time that has been given to teachers has really afforded them the opportunity to develop common language around content areas. So when you walk into a science room, when you walk into an English language arts classroom, when you walk into a math classroom, the students are getting the same messages about what's important and what it means to be successful. So I asked you to think about those overarching goals at the beginning of the presentation, and now I'm going to tie back where the goals are in terms of these priorities. So this priority definitely speaks to our second goal, which speaks to the instructional practices and the continuous improvement of student achievement, as well as to our third goal, which speaks to preparing all students for college and career readiness. Again, our priorities are thoughtful. We're thinking about what's important to us, and what's important to us are our overarching goals. So the next area that I want to talk about is technology. So technology has been a priority for us as a school district with the one-to-one initiative at Lynnfield High School, and having that full-time integration specialist that we currently have for technology has really been responsible for helping technology to really flourish within our classrooms. So when I speak about the high school that's first listed up here, the high school is by far the leader of the pack when it comes to using technology for teaching and learning. It is embedded with authenticity in all of the classes at the high school. We are looking to create some digital portfolios for student works at the high school. This is not necessarily an easy undertaking. The goal would be for each student to leave Lynnfield High School with a portfolio of everything they've done in and out of the classroom. This would not only be important as our students are applying to colleges, but it also would be important for our students that are going out into the workforce as they interview. The teachers would have an opportunity to assess those 21st century skills that we talk about so often through the portfolios with the students, and it would also give the students an opportunity to be more accountable for their learning and more accountable for keeping all of their things in one area. So the middle school, they've done a very nice job with technology. They've done a good job with the consistent use of the Google Suite. I'm sure you've heard that in some of our school committee meetings, which is bringing efficiency into the classroom. The students are getting instant feedback through the use of Google Suite from their teachers. They are able to truly collaborate with their peers on projects. The next step is really the accountability from a student perspective. So having students use different multimedia options to demonstrate their learning. In the past, we have relied on paper and pencil only. We have relied on PowerPoints, and that doesn't always work for students. We have some students that are really struggling writers. They have great knowledge, but we need to give them a differentiated way to demonstrate their knowledge. The goal would be to equip them with sort of like a choice menu of different ways that they could show their work, whether it would be through a multimedia of doing voice threads or doing videos. There are many ways that students could do this. The idea would be to have the technology integration specialists work with the teachers to really do this planning and then to create the rubrics so that they really would be authentic and genuine. And at the elementary level, in terms of technology, I would say that we're getting there. We're simply looking for more consistency. Ideally, we would like to form vertical teams that would be comprised of, only at the elementary level, of the grade level representatives, the media center specialists, the tech integration specialists, and their job would be to develop core grade level specific lessons and experiences for each grade level so that the experience with technology would be directly related to their learning, the standards and the grade level expectations. So when you come into our elementary schools, you would know that in first grade, they're going to look at science through this technology project. In third grade, they're going to look at science through this technology project, and it would be all laid out. But that takes a lot of planning, and it takes a lot lot of collaboration to actually realize that goal. So again, tying it back to our overarching goals, I bet you could tell me which goals they relate to, but I'll tell you just in case you can't. Number one, integrating technology effectively in our classrooms. Number two, which speaks to instructional practices and continuous improvement in student achievement. And number three, which speaks to preparing all students for college and career readiness. Our next goal is special education. So we continue to strive, our next priority, we continue to strive to meet the needs of all of our learners. And one way that we've been able to do this is to really focus on building the relationships, not only with the students, but with every family, to make sure that we're meeting the needs of the students and the families, to make sure that every child has an opportunity to be successful. And the key to this is really responsible and intentional allocation of resources, which is going to bring me to our next slide. And I need you to look very carefully at this next slide. This graph is the result of amazing collaboration that is taking place within our school system between families, special education, general education teachers, as well as administrators, the support of the school committee, as well as the community support. It's important to note, if you look at this slide, if you look at what we were spending on tuition in fiscal year 12, if you look, we were spending over $1 million, right? And so then you bring us down to fiscal year 16. What you need to know about this slide is that we have not serviced less kids in 2016. So we have the same amount of children there, but what we're doing is that we are continuously improving and creating consistency of our programming from level to level. So, and this is to a lot of the hard work of Kara Mara, our special education director. She's working hard to keep kids in their family school, in their neighborhood schools, in working hard to make sure that we don't just have programming, but we have the right programming to meet the needs of the students that are sitting in front of us. Again, the goals that this relates back to is number 2, which speaks to the instructional practices and continual improvement in student achievement, and also about preparing our children for college and career readiness. So our third priority is about retaining and recruiting teachers. So in terms of recruiting and retaining high-quality teachers, we all know that the rubber really hits the road in the classroom. That's where it all happens. And so we recruit professionals who have an undeniable skill set, and then through our professional development and our collaboration, we really teach them what it means to be a teacher in Lynnfield. Because every town has their own culture, every town has their sets of expectations, and it's important for us to really work with any new teacher coming into the district, whether they've been teaching 10 years or they've been teaching, this is their first job. We need to teach them about what it means to be a teacher in Lynnfield. We are clear with our teachers when we hire them that the expectations are high and that the work is continuous. If you go back to that per pupil expenditure and thinking about our other communities on the North Shore, we are competing with them constantly to get high quality teachers. And when teachers are interviewing and they are that good that they have the pick of districts that they want to work in, they are very impressed with the services that our students are getting and the professional development that they will receive when they come here. And so that retention, that recruiting and that retention of teachers is really important to us, and it has really been a very big part of our success in the Lynnfield Public Schools. So again, this goal, this priority is in direct correlation with goal number 2, which speaks to the instructional practices. So now let's move on to the position requests. The requests that we are making, they really go back to the opening statement that our job is not only to maintain the success, but to strive for continuous improvement in Lynnfield Public Schools. And that's what we've been able to do every year, is strive for that continuous improvement and make those improvements every year. In order to grow in the area of technology, and trust me, in 2015, this is an absolute necessity for our students in kindergarten all the way through grade 12, we are recommending one full-time technology integration specialist. We currently have one person in that position, and I will tell you, she is amazing. Her name is Jen Judkins. She happens to be one of only 8 Google certified trainers in Massachusetts, and we have her working in our school system. No matter how good she is, it's almost impossible for her to serve. We have over 2,000 students and over 200 faculty and staff. And she is that good that people are clamoring for her time all the time. So with a new full-time tech integration specialist, it would allow us to do some of those projects that I spoke about in the earlier slide with technology, some of the multimedia things that we would love to do at the middle school, some of the digital portfolios at the high school, and the more consistent use of technology at the elementary school. Ideally, this person would also be a K-12 person like our current integration specialist is, and they would tag team and work together. And so if one of them were working at the middle school and helping with the planning stages, we might have another one working at the elementary school working with the implementation stages. And then once the implementation stage of a project is done, they can leave them for a while and maybe go to the high school and then come back and consult. And I feel that if we were able to put this position in there, technology is definitely a priority for us, and we would be able to better meet our goals with technology. So the middle school support, so the middle school and the middle school faculty administration, they have worked incredibly hard to meet the needs of all learners. And as I said before, the elementary structure of the assessment meetings has really proven to be hugely successful. Lynnfield Middle School has adopted this. Now what we need to do is make sure that they have the resources for continued success. The tutors provide small group instruction for the purposes of remediation and reteaching based on the data coming out of the assessment meetings. It gets our students to a point where they're not falling behind. It doesn't become a snowball effect. We're getting into them early, often, and intensely. We're getting them the help they need. The other thing that's important to remember is that we have this in the elementary school. And just because a student may fall behind in elementary school doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be the same student that's going to fall behind in middle school. So we can have the data to support the fact that we have students that have done really well in K-4, but maybe once they hit 5th grade, they have totally different challenges, and they need some more support. So having this for our middle school students, and we do know that our middle school students are our most vulnerable students without a question or a doubt. So this would be hugely helpful to support the teachers in their mission of really servicing all of those students to the best of their abilities. And the Media Center aide is actually a position that was in this budget. It was in our budget for many years. Every single one of our schools currently has a Media Center aide. Probably about 4 or 5 years ago, we were under some tough times in terms of we were asked to cut some things out of our budget. And because this was not a position that went directly to students, Mr. Ralston felt like this was a position that he could cut out. I will be honest with you, with the media centers in our schools right now really acting as a technology hub, we really feel like it's time to put this position back in, because we don't want our media center teachers cataloging books, and we don't want them going through paperwork. We want them working with students on technology, especially now where we have that one great technology integration specialist. She works hand in hand with the media center teachers to get out to the classroom with the teachers. And we want to allow our middle school media center teacher that same amount of time to be able to do this. So by reinstating this media center aide, it would afford her that time to do that. And the last budget request that we have is for a Lynnfield High School assistant football coach. Participation rates in our football team have increased significantly over the past few years. Football carries our largest numbers of students, and it is absolutely an all-inclusive sport, having our highest participation rate of any other sport that we have in the district. Currently, we have 22 varsity teams that have head coaches. We have 16 sub-varsity teams. If we add this coach, our JV team for football would have a head coach. And so then all of our teams at the high school would have a head coach. So at this point, I'm just following the lead of what you did with the other department heads. I can go right into the 3 budget requests we have, or I can stop now and answer questions for you. It's totally up to you.
At this point, I don't have any questions. I do have comments and questions later, but I'll wait.
Would you like me to continue on with the capital?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, so we have 3 separate capital requests. 2 are one-time only requests that we have. This first one is the continued maintenance and upgrades of the technology district-wide. So I did speak to the fact that technology is definitely one of our priorities. Our elementary schools at this point are our only 2 schools that are not fully wireless. We are working on that. We've got hubs in certain parts of the school, but if we really want to make this commitment to technology, then it's really important for us to have, again, the resources for us to be successful in that. And so we really would like to make both elementary schools completely wireless. The other part of this capital budget is the replacement of smart boards on an as-needed basis. They do break down, and sometimes they can be repaired, but sometimes they just wear out, and they have to be replaced. The smart boards at Summer Street School, and I'll speak to that because I know it the best, the smart boards at Summer Street School, they were all installed my first and second year as principal there, and I was principal there for 10 years. So they're starting to wear out, and so there is a need to replace them. And also additional Chromebooks to support the one-to-one device initiative for our incoming freshmen and half of our senior class. I will tell you, we probably spent not more time, but an incredible amount of time this school year, over the summer into the school year, talking about this one very thing. What are we doing with the technology, and what is it going to look like? We surveyed the students and the faculty. What we found out from the students, which we really weren't surprised to find out, that if a student had an iPad, they were really happy to have the iPad. If a student had a Chromebook, they were really happy to have the Chromebook. We have really made a statement to say that we are a Google-driven school district. So everything that we do is really through Google. If you watch our school committee meetings, we all have our Chromebooks up there. We're using the Google Suite for that. Middle school and high school, I'm not even quite sure if the teachers could really teach effectively at this point without the use of that Google Suite. They've come to know and love it so much as a resource to really help students in their classrooms. And so when we really looked at what device we were going to go with, the Chromebook really offers so much more in terms of being able to use the Google Suite. Not to mention the fact that the current iPads that we have will be out of warranty. They will know they won't really be any use to us once they're out of warranty, and the Chromebooks are about half the price of the iPads. And so to support this part of the capital budget, it's $250,000. Would you like me to go on to the other 2 pieces of capital? And then I can answer questions on all of them?
Just one question on this one. There was, at one time, there was discussion about bring your own to school, and so is that still an option, or is that?
Let's say it's still up for discussion. There are lots of reasons not to bring your own.
Right.
You know, one of the things that we talk about is being able to have control over the devices and being able to access the Google Suite in an effective and efficient manner. If we have kids bringing iPads, if we have kids bringing phones to school, that really cuts down on that consistency. And David, to be honest with you, when we're talking to parents about coming to Lynnfield Public Schools, and I did this so much as a principal, I've sat down for hours in my office talking to parents about why Lynnfield Public Schools is so great. And our very savvy parents who are coming into our school district, make no bones about it, they're going on the DESE website and they're looking at what we're spending per pupil. They're also looking at what our standardized scores are, and they're also looking at things like a lot of the districts around us are one-to-one initiatives, and who is making their students pay for it, and who is it part of their education. So I wouldn't say it's a closed conversation, but right now we're leaning more towards the fact that being able to have control and consistency to make the teaching and learning in our classrooms more effective and efficient. Right now, we're very happy with where we are. Does that make sense to you?
I think where you are is great.
Good, we do
Good
too.
focus.
So the next piece of the capital budget, this is really something that came out of a lot of the conversations that I have been having as the new superintendent in town, and really listening carefully to people's concerns and collecting data. And really just my own impressions of what we're doing in terms of safety and security in our school district. So at the end of the day, when we're thinking about what our role is as a town, what your role is as selectmen, what our role is as educators, what the school committee's role is, it's about educating our students, but it's about keeping our students and our teachers safe first. We can't educate them unless we keep them safe. Steve Ralston serves on a statewide committee for safety called STARS, and he is called out to different school districts on the North Shore when there is a crisis in their school district. He's very good when it comes to the security and safety. So when I was talking to Steve and Joe Piazza and Arthur Bork, I spent a lot of time talking to Arthur Bork about the safety and security of our schools. We really decided that what we currently have is not sufficient in terms of being able to keep everybody as safe as we possibly can, right? So we have pockets all over our school district that do not have security cameras on them. And so in order to really have a good lens of what's going on in every corner of our schools, we would need to add 118 security cameras district-wide. Now, some of these are replacing some older cameras, and some of those are brand-new cameras to new spots. We also would like to put a buzzer system at Lynnfield High School. It is the only school in the district currently that does not have a buzzer system. The other thing that we would like to do is, if you have had an opportunity to be in our middle school has a monitor that is probably as big as the picture part of the screen up there, and it is a live feed to all of the security cameras in the building, and it's motion sensitive. So if there's action going on in this hallway or that hallway, it brings it up and you can see it immediately. This is not only good for day-to-day maintenance and control of student issues that come up, but God forbid there were a crisis in our buildings, we would need those monitors. This system, and we talked especially to Arthur about this in depth actually just the other day in a conference call, and this system is something that Chief Breen and I have also talked about, because it's something that we could give them access to, and they could have access to this from their department and their patrol cars as well. So this really falls under all of the security piece. Chief Breen spoke to you about the SRO, and I will throw a plug in here at this point for that. It was one of the very first conversations I had with the chief when I came into this position, because we have a wonderful high school and middle school, and we have two wonderful elementary schools. But we do have things that happen in our schools, that behavior issues that are happening in our schools. We have certain things that happen that are taking away from the lead administrators in the school, and they're suddenly dealing with issues that really are better suited for a police officer to deal with. Chief Breen and I spend time on a Monday morning on the phone just talking about what happened over the weekend. Oh, this happened and that happened. Okay, that's definitely going to be ramifications for what's happening in our hallways in our high school. So I believe that with this increased security and the increase of having an SRO in our schools, I will tell you, I'll be able to put my head down at night and say we're doing a pretty darn good job of keeping our kids safe and secure. And so if this capital budget request were to go through, the total cost of that is $225,000. And then the last piece for the capital request is the much talked about. We've talked about this a lot. It came up today when the senior center was talking as well. So this is about moving the preschool to Summer Street Elementary School. One of the number one reason why we want to do this is because without a question or a doubt, it will enhance the teaching and learning for our preschool students. Currently, we have 2 preschool teachers who are on site at the Salem Street building. They're pretty isolated down there. We want to give them an opportunity to be in a building where there is a rich early childhood center. And what I mean by that is we have K1 and 2 teachers. We want to give them the opportunity to have access, greater access to the wonderful resources of our school psychologists, to our curriculum directors, just to have the collaboration, just to have the conversations with kindergarten teachers and first grade teachers about some of the students that they are servicing would be wonderful, and it would really enrich our preschool program. So there would be some benefits from this if we were able to make this move. One of the benefits would be it would give the school department a chance to actually develop a central office at the Salem Street site. Right now, I would consider Tom Gary, the finance director, Kara Morrow, the special education director, the people who work in their office, myself, the people who work in my office. The 3 of us spend an incredible amount of time together on a weekly and monthly basis in terms of planning and looking at resources and troubleshooting. And we spend a lot of time in our cars getting to each other. And it would be nice if we had one central office that we could all be at. The other thing that this would allow us to do is that it would free up some space at the middle school, which is much needed because we would also take the director of food services with us down to the Salem site, and he has a little office that actually Mr. Ralston could use for some small group instructions and some tutoring. You have spent enough time in town hall that you know that this place is overcrowded, to say the very least. I won't take it personally that I think people will be very happy to see the school district relocate to give them a little extra space, and you heard it from yourself from the senior center tonight. They will be getting a small area of space, and I think that we all heard tonight that is much needed as well. So in addition to that, it would give us a place to have some district-wide meetings. We don't really have any place right now to have those district-wide meetings, and we want to bring large groups of people together. We end up going up to Topsfield to the consortium. And it would be a nice place to have someplace closer. So we truly believe that moving the preschool to Summer Street School is not only has its huge academic benefits, but it also benefits pretty much a lot of people in this town. And the $75,000 cost for that is really just to get it in shape to have offices down there instead of preschools. So that is about changing some of the preschool bathrooms to normal-sized bathrooms, to paint and just getting it in a situation that it would be ready for adults. So in summary, this is the total request. It translates into a 4.5 increase to our budget with 3 separate capital requests of $550,000. Please keep in mind that this total is enough to include everything that has been budgeted for, including our contractual obligations. So if anyone has any questions at this time, I would be happy to entertain them.
Well, I thank you for your presentation. I think you have put it together very well.
Thank you.
Speaking as a town official, I think that what you're presenting is right on track with what's needed for the schools. Speaking as a parent who has 2 kids in the school system, I think what you're talking about is right on track for any parent out there that has kids in the school system. We've always invested in our schools. And I think at times, the last time, I think the school budget came in under 4%. And there were some tough times, years ahead of that, where not much was given. But I do think this is one of those times that the community really needs to invest in the schools. And your 4.5% in your budget and your capital budget to me are right on. I mean, for what you need to do, for what you need to do for the schools. I think it's something that the investment is very good because you have to progress and you have to invest or you regress. And if you regress, then it's a domino effect and it can go in different ways. So from my point of view, I just think thank you very much for what you're doing in the school committee and all your school administrators and all your staff and all your teachers doing a great job.
Thank you.
So thank you.
You did do a great job, Jane. A really thorough description of what you want to do. I do have a couple questions on the budget. There was one item on the front page, administration technology, have a $53,000 increase. Was that part of this, or was that something in addition to that?
So I can explain what that increase is. So we currently have budgeted in that line item $15,000 for our camera and security system, and that's for just to really support it and to maintain it. And with the increase of the security cameras, we're figuring that that's going to bring us up to a $30,000 line item instead of 15, so we have to add $15,000 to that. Where currently it is $15,000. We also have an annual cost for the content filtering subscription that supports our one-to-one device. And my understanding is that we needed to increase that for the bandwidth to really be able to have those one-on-one devices work to their maximum ability. In addition to that, next year is a contractual year for us, so we'll be negotiating the contract. And so we bumped up our legal fees by $5,000 to really support the fact that we'll be spending more time with the lawyer. And we also have in that same line item a $12,000 increase to support some of the professional development initiatives that we've done specifically with our specialty teachers who don't have department heads to really support them in their curriculum development. And the last piece that falls under that same line item is unemployment. And so currently we have budgeted for that $33,000. And in my conversations with Tom Geary, we are under budgeted in that. And so we're going to raise that to $40,000, and hopefully we won't be under budgeted this year in that. So that's where you're seeing the big increase.
Sure. That's a good, because it was confusing whether it was part of what you already talked about or
Right.
something in addition, so it is.
Does that make sense to you?
That makes sense. I mean,
Okay.
it just gives me the detail where the breakout is.
Right.
Now, the other thing you had mentioned is the new cameras that you want to put in, part of
Yep.
the capital plan. What do we currently have? You're talking about 118 new cameras. What do we have now?
Less than half of that.
Less than half of that? Yeah. And then all those are being replaced, so you're going to retain some?
Majority of. There's some, there's a few that are okay. that will
Few
leave
that's
in,
still
but
working
the
that
vast
you can-
majority of them are being replaced.
We're also, I didn't mention this, but we're also, part of those cameras are also cameras that will support our fields.
Okay.
So currently, we don't have any cameras on the fields. And so we feel that that was such a huge investment for us as a town that we need to get some cameras on those with some infrared lighting so that we'll be able to see what's going on in there at night.
Well, I know we set up one there to watch the construction. Does that one
That's
been
right.
disconnected now, or is that still out
I
there?
don't know if that's still out there. I don't know. I don't know.
And the last question I had was, your predecessor had talked about using the fee that we got for the foreign students coming into the district to offset the cost of the Chromebooks. Was that ever implemented?
Yeah, that's not really a usable, it has to be, because they're foreign students, the uses of the funds have to be tied to the students more than
Yeah,
anything.
because that was how
you
we
can't just-
suggested. I didn't know how he was gonna use
You
it
can't
that
just
way.
really spend it on anything you like. It's
Yeah,
gotta
so that has to be
somewhat, at
targeted
least
towards
loose-
that.
At least somewhat loosely tied to them.
Yeah, yeah, maybe buy that student a Chromebook and that's it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. Great, we'll change it. That was a nice job. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Jane, that was very comprehensive. That was excellent. Thank you very much. The slideshow was great. Going through this other 30 pages wasn't so great. But nonetheless, we have to do it, right?
Right.
So I have some just general questions, and I'll try to just rifle through this as quick as I can. In one of your slides, and you were talking about the older iPads or
Yes.
Chromebooks or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
After they're out of warranty, we're going to sell them, give them to the students. What happens with them?
So we've talked about that. We're going to use them until we can't use them anymore. So we are going to put them on carts, and we are going to support our classrooms. Some of our math classrooms, there may be a use for them at some of the lower levels, the middle school and the elementary schools. But once they're gone, Tom, they're gone. We are not investing any money in them in terms of fixing them at all. So once they're gone, they're gone. So we're going to use them until we can't use them anymore.
But do they go, when you say gone and they're out of warranty, I think of an iPad I've had for 6 years now.
Right.
It works great, but
Well,
I'm not dropping it. I'm not
I was
running,
just going to say,
you know,
you're
running to
right.
class and my bag is sliding down the floor.
You would be surprised. I mean, you know, we talk to the students, and most of them are very, very good about taking care of them. But we've had some pretty significant damages with some of them, and they get a ton of use. I mean, you're on your iPad, on my iPad. I will tell you probably a third or a quarter of the time that our students are on their iPads, because don't forget, they're using them all day, every day, and then they're going home at night and they're using them all night as well.
Okay. On the bottom of page 1, you have less activity fees, community schools, kindergarten revenue, totaling $538,500. Could you explain what that is?
Yeah, I'm going to have Tom speak to
Those
that.
are just three sources of revenue that we bring in, so they offset our budget. Activity fees are at the high school and the middle school for sports and extracurriculars. Community schools is just revenue that they bring in, you know, how much through all of their activities, and kindergarten revenue we charge for that full day kindergarten.
Okay, great. Can you tell me about your teacher count? What do you have for teachers per school, and like what do you got
So,
transitioning there? What's
I
going on?
can get, I don't have the exact numbers with me today about what do we have at each school. In terms of transitioning our classroom teachers, we're not looking to add any classroom teachers.
Well, it isn't so much adding. I see that there's a bigger concerted effort to create teams and work with children to make a better learning environment and to help develop their minds. I'm just wondering, on the backside, you must be monitoring the teachers to make sure that they're performing up to what they should be performing. So just that, I'm really curious to know if there's any turnover at the teacher level.
I mean, every year, we may have a teacher that leaves for relocation to a different state. Is that what you mean?
Well, just teachers coming and going.
I will tell you, our percentage of keeping teachers here, it's pretty high. Once teachers get here, they generally do not leave. Look at me. This is my 29th year in the district. You know, I came here when I was 25 years old. People come here and they stay here. And they come here and they stay here because we do right by kids. Some teachers leave to take care of their own families. Some teachers leave because they leave teaching. Some teachers do leave for other districts.
Some just retire.
And some just retire, right? But if you look at, Tom and I actually ran those numbers at one point. We have a very high percentage of teachers that came at the beginning of their career, and they have stayed with us for a long time.
Okay, so maybe you can get me those numbers.
Say it again? And so that's a good point, too. So when we talk about those tutors,
Mhm.
and I talk about those tutors at the middle school, and I talk about those tutors at the elementary school, the majority of those tutors are veteran teachers that have retired from our school district, and they love the practice of teaching so much that they come back and they work for us on a part-time level for very little money. Very little money, because they love the practice of teaching. And so people are very hard pressed to leave. In fact, I will tell you, I've had conversations with teachers in the past who have said, you know, I'm thinking about retiring, but I really want one of those tutoring jobs. Because I really just want to work like 20 hours a week. And with all due respect, I don't want to deal with report cards. I don't want to deal with mandates. I just want to deal with kids. And so, again, to speak to that, those tutoring positions, one of the reasons why they've been so successful is because we're just not pulling in people off the street for those positions. They are veteran teachers who we feel are the best in the practice. So, you know, your ticket to retirement here is if you've done a really nice job for us and you've had an impact on teaching and learning, then you will get an invitation to come back and tutor for us.
Okay. So I can just get that detailed information from you tomorrow.
So what exactly are you looking for?
The actual number of teachers that we have, how many retired, how many new hires that we had over the past 2 years.
We can get that for you, sure.
Then you actually answered a question. I was wondering what was going on with the professional fees. I saw a $5,000 increase, and that's because you get your contract coming up.
That is correct.
There'll be negotiations there. I'm just thinking, as we become more and more automated, the Chromebook certainly has a life expectancy. Is that really a capital item, or is that really operational? It's more like an inventory to me, so you're maintaining an inventory more than anything else.
I don't know the definition you have for capital here. It varies from town to town. It's my understanding this has been a standing capital practice that this gets added to the schools. They buy it. The advantage of having it as a capital item, that's what it has to be expended on. When times get tough, if it's in their budget, and this is, you know, no offense to the schools, but it's in their budget, if they got to decide between a teacher or a computer, then that technology can go away. So segregating it, make sure it always goes to technology. But generally, capital is 5 years, $5,000. I mean, this meets the $5,000. I don't know if it meets the 5 years, but segregating it this way gives you more accountability as to where it goes.
The security capital budget, I think, is a great idea. The huge investment that we have in the fields, and just to keep the children safe, that's paramount. Especially in this day and age with these crazy things that are occurring, that's absolutely important.
It's
So,
very
a
much on our
necessity.
mind.
Absolutely, sure. And a lot of the parents I've talked to, they're very concerned with that. You know, that's just heart-throbbing to you know, watch the news with some of these things that are happening. It just rips your heart out. We certainly wouldn't want anything like that to happen here. We'd want to have a strong deterrent message out there for people to be aware of. And then lastly, the $75,000, that's for the change at the...
So at the current Salem Street site, so there are some things that need to happen there. In order to give the senior center part of that, we need to put a wall up. The bathrooms need to be changed over from literally preschool bathrooms to adult bathrooms. The preschool's been there for some time. It needs a new paint job. There's a couple of things of flooring that need to take place because the preschool has been down there. So it's really to get it up to the level where you could have administrative offices in there.
So this is all for Salem Street? There's
Yes, that is
nothing
correct.
to do at Summer Street?
No, Tom, and the reason why we don't is because when we built those buildings at Summer Street School, they were designed to house preschool. So there are 2 preschool classrooms that are currently down at the Summer Street School that were built already to spec for preschool students. And it was my second year of being principal there where our numbers literally exploded, and I needed to take over those classrooms for I think it was first grade classrooms at the time. And so, so now we're able to put them back there. So there's absolutely no work that has to happen at all to Summer Street School. It's all the Salem site.
And lastly, where do you see the numbers in our total school going? Are the numbers increasing now, decreasing, holding steady?
So Tom and I actually, in the fall, we had somebody do an enrollment projection for us. And Tom, if I'm correct, we're gonna be pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Steady in terms of holding steady. It was one of the reasons why, before we even put this plan to paper about putting preschool at Summer Street School, we really wanted to make sure that that was going to be a sustainable move, that that was not something that we were going to have to turn around in two or 3 years and say, oops, we made a mistake. Now, having said that, I don't have a crystal ball, and we do have those projections, but by all accounts, we're pretty sure that they're going to be able to stay there for a while, and our numbers are going to hold steady.
I want to thank you for paying special attention to the middle school. I know we had a discussion a few months back
Yes.
about different issues, and that was one of them. It's really nice to see that you focused in there at making some giant strides, and that's excellent.
Good.
Since we have, the rest of the schools are excellent, it's just beautiful to see this.
Good.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Thanks, Jean.
You're welcome. Sure.
On the security cameras, I
Mhm.
totally agree, safety, we should be doing that. But are we gonna be having any remote monitoring, or is it just gonna be closed circuit? Is it just gonna go to the police station? Who's gonna actually?
Principal.
Yeah, the principal has complete access. They do, so if something happens in any of the schools now, when I was the principal at Summer Street School, I could access the cameras, I could pull it up on my computer, and I could know exactly what was going on. So it would be the entire administrative leadership team, the teachers would not have access to it, and the police would have access to it. Does that make sense?
Yes, and what about the fields? I mean, at night.
The fields would be the same thing. So those would be under Bob Cleary, who's the principal of the high school. They would be under his jurisdiction. So that would be on his system, so he would be able to monitor those.
And then at night, they'll go to the
And the
police.
infrared cameras as well.
They'll go to the police at night, though, if anything happens?
Yes, the police will have access to them.
Okay.
Absolutely. That was
Thank
one of the big things that we really wanted to have happen.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else?
Yeah, I just want to say I'm not one of the people that will be happy when the schools move out, despite the fact that her office is much nicer than mine. I do like having her across the hall. So I'm not one of the people that'll be happy if the schools move down the street, but
I will come
understand
and
why.
visit you, Jim, I promise you.
Coffee.
I'll bring coffee.
She just painted a nice pink, Jim, if you want to move over there.
Are you gonna move over there, Jim?
You've seen my office now. Pink would be an upgrade.
What
from
color did I tell you? What color is it, Jim? I already told you.
Desert sand. Or something?
Manchester sand, get it
Manchester
right.
sand.
He
Manchester
won't
sand.
put wood paneling up in there.
As aside from the early Brady Bunch paneling that is in the town administrator's office.
1970 all over it.
There you
Lovely.
go.
Nice
Thank
warm
you
feeling.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jane.
Thanks.
Okay, next on the agenda, opening of the annual town meeting warrant.
I'd like to make a motion that we open the town meeting warrant for the April town meeting.
And second that motion?
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So the April town meeting will be the 27th, and we will close this warrant on March 23rd at that meeting. So it's open for, what, 30 days?
Yes.
Okay, an update on Pearly Burl.
I have to excuse myself from this discussion to err on the side of extreme caution. I'll leave the room, and if you could just get me when we're done with this. Don't go far.
As Tom's leaving the room, really the update on Pearly Barrel is there is no update from the last time. We were in the same holding pattern we were in before. The tanks are out. We are waiting in the building department for the asbestos report, so they can issue a demolition permit for that building. To date, it has not come, nor have we received the remediation plan for the contamination with the gasoline.
So the building inspector and the health department have all done what they need to do, and So far to date.
Right, the building inspector cannot issue a demolition permit until the asbestos report comes back and the Board of Health signs off on it. That has not come back.
Okay. Any timeline on that, or when they think that may come
I know
back?
Jack has talked to them and keeps asking them. He's expecting it a week ago, and it still hasn't come in yet.
All right, well, that's the update, but, you know, I think it's important to keep this on the agenda, though, because we need to keep that moving, so, thank you.
Do you have any announcements? You do.
Yes, I do. Okay, next is announcements. I just want to make one quick announcement. Our town clerk, Trudy Reed, she received pretty nice certification. She recently qualified for the Massachusetts Town Clerks Association Certified Massachusetts Municipal Clerk designation, and she received her certification plaque and pin at the MCTA Winter Conference, which was held in Devens on February 5th. And I understand currently only about 1/3 of the Commonwealth's town clerks have this designation, so
That's correct.
to say a lot for her. So, Trudy, congratulations, a great job, and thanks for your commitment for what you do for the town and how you serve the residents. So I just wanted to make that announcement. Any other announcements?
I just have a quick one. Chief Breen did mention earlier there was an incident at the Charlie Peabody retirement party, and an officer from Marblehead reacted to a choking incident by one of the police officers, and he had asked us to consider accommodation for that police officer, and I think we should move forward on that and ask that's something to get made up, and that we honor him at a future meeting.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. I have one quick announcement. A week or two ago, there was a public forum regarding the possibility of CVS purchasing the Bridgewell building, and there were quite a few people there that attended that evening, and there were a few issues that came up. First, I'd like to thank CVS and their professionals for showing up. They really came ready, locked and loaded with a lot of information to provide. But I think that the most important issue was they were there listening to the public and what they expected and what they wanted. In short, what I heard was that traffic area by Route 1 and Salem Street is a rate, from what I'm told, is rated F. And by putting in a CVS, their traffic engineer has indicated that would relieve the stress of traffic. I don't know if I personally believe that, but he seems to believe that it would. But the people in that area were very, very concerned with the possibility of an increase in traffic where people would be coming on and off right by an extremely busy intersection. The second issue was the level of noise. We're going to have trucks delivering supplies there daily. There was another issue with light pollution because they wanted to have a drive-through. And one gentleman that attended, he was right by the drive-through. So those lights were going to pierce right into his window every car that came by at night, which was a big issue. And lastly was the delivery trucks and vans that would be coming and going from that site. Preliminarily, they were talking about an entry from Route 1 into the parking lot. They'd unload and then re-enter the street on Salem Street. Now, that would cause a substantial traffic issue, whether it be a van, a large box truck, never mind an 18-wheeler trying to pull out into an extremely busy intersection. So I think that if this situation should move forward, it is something that other town officials should become very aware of and really take note of the people that live in that area are more than concerned and alarmed by the situation. So that's really the only announcement that I have. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, use of town facilities. We have a Reed's Run fundraiser for May 3rd. And,
Do we know if the police have reviewed this?
Yes, I believe so.
And they've approved this route?
I don't think they've given their complete approval. They were working with the organizer.
Mhm.
So if you decide to approve it with
Contingent upon
contingent on the
police chief.
Subject to their approval of the
Yeah.
route.
final approval of the route. And
this is the same route that they use for like the Run for the Fallen and
It
all
is.
that. So,
It's
I mean,
similar,
I don't
yeah.
see why they wouldn't approve
Yeah,
it,
Chief
but-
Breen doesn't have a lot of concerns. He just had a couple more details he was trying to nail down,
Yeah,
but
it's similar.
he's in favor of it, just the devil's in the details, so.
Well, it's a great cause. It's in addition to their Reed's ride they do in the first year for this, so.
Right.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the use of the streets for the Reed's Run on Sunday, May 3rd, assuming that, or with the approval of Sergeant Breen of the route.
I'll second that motion. I just want to make a comment that my spouse is a cancer survivor, and I actually lost my father to several bouts of cancer. The last cancer that got him was pancreatic cancer, so this cause is very dear to my heart, so I absolutely support this.
So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Then we have a Hallmark Health Taste of Spring on March 20th, and they're looking for a one-day liquor application. It's gonna be at the flagship Mercedes-Benz dealership, 385 Broadway.
Yeah, Taste of Spring to benefit the Hallmark Health System. I believe, Bob, we've done this in the past.
yes, they did this last year for the
Right.
first time.
And they're just asking for a beer and wine from
Correct.
6 o'clock to 9 o'clock?
Yep.
Right.
5 to 9. Liquor's delivered at 5, so.
Like it's at 5?
Yep.
Function time 6 to 9 p.m. Beer and wine.
Yep.
Seems reasonable.
And this is, yeah, they did this last year.
I'd make a motion to approve the Hallmark Health Taste of Spring on March 20th.
Second that?
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Board of Selectmen regular meeting minutes for February 4th, 2015. I have no questions or comments regarding these minutes.
I was okay with these minutes?
I only had one comment regarding the administrative policy regarding the domestic violence law, and we were adding I thought we were adding a bylaw or something to our notes, because I remember, I have a note of, that we had a vote. But there's no note of any kind of a vote here.
Yeah, you did a vote to adopt the policy.
Vote to adopt it, yes.
There's a vote on the bottom of that.
If you look at page 6.
Page 6, right above where it says administrative policy, that last paragraph.
Okay, all right. That's fine, then I have no problems, it's fine.
So motion to accept the minutes.
I move that we accept the minutes for February 4th.
I'll second that
Moved and
motion.
seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Then we have February 12th. Board of Selectmen regular meeting, February 12th, 2015. I have no comments on this.
These are fine.
Fine with me.
I move that we accept the minutes for the meeting on February 12th.
Second that motion.
Been moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move that we adjourn.
Second that.
Moved and seconded to adjourn, all in favor? Aye.
Thank you.